What is going on, everybody? It is episode 232 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Happy to be back. We have a special show for you today. 2 guests today, one of whom is returning from a brief hiatus. We're very happy to see you back.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com. I feel like we're doing this format slightly differently.
Did you yes, we've switched it up slightly.
Things have changed since I've been gone.
Wait, what's different?
Well, normally Brett gives me a stare being like, and now you're talking.
Oh, I didn't know what
You're much more subtle in your introduction. Sorry.
Yes, Chris Bertman has been coming for you with his own intro, and he invokes the writer's room as well.
Well, that's good. He's not coming for me. We're a united front. I even think I was the one who was like,
specifically read my articles and not Hannah Claire's.
That's aggressive. Especially since we've never met. I know he's been at the castle. I'm just never here. Also, Chris, I am the one who said, hey, Mary and Brett, you should have Chris Bertman on the show. He's cool.
Yeah, thank Hannah Claire for that.
That is true.
Extremely rude, sir.
We have another guest today. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Well. If it isn't little old me, Dane Font, marketing man extraordinaire, and the patron saint of White Way Summer. But I've never met that Chris guy, but he seems cool. Yep. I saw him on the show.
He seems questionable now. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Hannah Claire's like, I don't know how I feel about that guy now. It's
I love all the guest beef.
Yes.
There's no beef. I don't even know this ghost who I recommended for your show. It's crazy.
So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, guys. We're going to talk about 2 articles that speak to the nature that we are, that the idea of an industry built on spite does not build strong customer confidence, and wherein Amazon Prime might be changing their showrunners because they don't know how to run a show.
We're talking about MFers who don't respect the source material. Yep. Big shocker, right?
After that, we are going to get into the some new information that's come out about the Harvey Weinstein trial, and all sorts of news that Mary has all sorts of, what did we call it, branches of information.
Branches, not Easter eggs, okay?
Yes.
I don't like Easter eggs, but there are branches to that topic, and I'm excited to get into it.
Yes, and then after that, we are going to talk about James Cameron and not just James Cameron, but Tim Burton, both kind of taking shots at Marvel, Disney, DC, and that genre as a whole. I think the James Cameron one is the most interesting of those because they have some idea. He has some ideas about why there aren't stakes in the STAKES, not steaks like the food steaks. There are no stakes in these Marvel movies, and why they don't seem to embrace the idea of family as well. Like, they don't give up their jobs for things that are tangible to regular people like you and I.
But I guess now that we mention it, they don't have stakes like the meat either.
Yeah, probably not.
Marvel movies.
So we got all that. We got Podluck. We got about a bunch of other stuff to get into. So if you guys are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We're ready.
Dane?
Yep.
Hannah Claire?
Yes.
Okay, we are good to go. So it says, this is a rumor, by the way, guys. Remember, like, some people like rake you over the coals if you don't mention that it's a rumor because they think that you're reporting something as fact.
No, we proudly report fake news on this show.
I love it. I think that's the best part. You just get to be like, we don't know if this is real. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
We were joking about how a headline might start with just like fake.
Yeah.
Colon.
I like it. I like the idea of fake.
False.
Just,
questionable.
Like, not tell anyone, just not point it out. So it says, rumor, Amazon to retool The Lord of the Rings of Power, sideline current showrunners after first season, because it was more of a failure than they could have anticipated. Well, go figure, right? Mm-hmm. So it says, with Amazon's live-action bastardization, holy editorialization there, Batman, that was fantastic, of J.R.R. Tolkien's seminal fantasy works having underperformed by practically every metric, a new rumor suggests that the company will be sidelining its current showrunners, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. This was played in a clip of Chris Gore from one of Midnight's Edge's streams that they were talking about this on. And the idea here is they're talking about that their roles might be reduced to being right in the writer's room in season 2 and not running the show because they realize that you can't just hire nobodies and give them $1 billion in money and expect something good to come.
It's shocking that they would get first-time showrunners on a $1 billion project, which is guaranteed to have 5 seasons minimum.
Is it bad that my first response is like, who are those showrunners related to, though?
Who
was like, my godson over here really
I feel like we would have heard of some nepotism theory by now,
I
right?
think that there's so much more nepotism than we realize because we only hear about nepotism as it relates to famous people, but we don't hear about nepotism as it relates to like doctors or like well-known, or not doctors, directors.
Doctors and directors.
Sure, whatever. Like well-known sound developers, like producers. Like producers have their own network of nepotism, I'm sure.
The armorer for Rust, Helen Gutierrez Reed, her dad was like a famous armorer before her. And
We actually were just talking about nepotism, and I was saying that I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but just don't lie about it and cover it up or claim that you've earned everything you have, as some of it has been given to you.
Sure. I also feel like nepotism, and obviously I just introduced my own rumored aspect to this, nepotism.
Yeah.
But one of the things that comes to mind is like the blacksmith trade, you know? Like I could understand where like if you grew up around an industry and your parent was involved, like you may actually legitimately be interested in it and have maybe a more specialized knowledge than someone else. Like I don't think it disqualifies you from being good at something. I just feel like we should be transparent about it. And also in this sense where it's like new showrunners who have never done anything get $1 billion. Like it's hard not to
Amazon
be like
is
someone
the
must really
opposite.
trust you.
Yeah, Amazon is doing basically the exact opposite of transparency in every way. They're censoring fan reviews. They said that this has to be a PR success even if it's a failure in reality. And Chris Gore suggests that this was an unprecedented, unanticipated, complete failure in their eyes for 3 reasons. The quality was lacking. Secondly, the fans of the franchise, the existing fans who they knew they were going to get as viewers, disliked it wholeheartedly. And thirdly, they were
fans are so
overshadowed by
unreliable.
House of the Dragon.
Yeah, he points out that this show was basically created because Jennifer Salk who had hired these showrunners for a Conan series that Amazon Prime eventually canceled because strong male characters are just, no, they're not going to do that. But they moved those, as soon as those showrunners were fired, they were immediately scooped up by HBO and brought on to do House of the Dragon, which is kicking their ass in every metric. It came out before it. It's still on after it. The ratings are higher for what ratings we even know are there because Amazon's being extremely guarded with any ratings numbers outside of those first 2 weeks, which they keep touting, which as we know does not matter if that doesn't equal continued watch time. And they talk about how Jennifer Salk is really the responsibility for that, and she's in charge of production over there at Amazon Studios.
Isn't the issue of this show that the writing is absolutely atrocious?
Well, and it's combative with the people that love the source material, as we know, and that's kind of the point of this other article that we have here about X-Men 97, which says X-Men 97 writer Beau DeMayo recalls some writers on Netflix's The Witcher actively mocked the source material, says that this mindset is a recipe for disaster and bad morale, and that he's looking to avoid that for their production for X-Men 97, the animated series on Disney+.
Well, I find myself being like, you're saying that the fans didn't turn out to watch the thing, that also you altered to make it not the thing that they liked.
Yes.
Like, I don't think you understand how fans work. Fans really like the original product and will stand by it if it resembles that. You can't just change it, have the same title on it, and call it a day.
Well, they do that, though. That's actually what they do. They just put the same title on it and call it a day.
But
One
like,
interview
that doesn't
of-
work for the fans.
One interview with Beau DeMayo, they were definitely baiting him to say something about how X-Men 97 is going to improve upon the messaging that was in the first series in the 90s and how it's going to reflect the ways that the modern world has changed.
And I remember vaguely, I can't 100% confirm this, but I remember somebody saying something already along those lines in the early articles about X-Men 97, the animated series, that they're going to update it. And as soon as you start hearing that language, you have to start becoming suspicious.
Here's exactly what he said about that. I don't know if improve would be a word I would use. I think that show is amazing in so many different ways. I think what I would say is that the generation who grew up watching the show have grown up. We have grown up, and the world is a very different place than when the show was first made. It's a question of what does the show look like knowing what we know now, and how it looks in today's world with everything that has changed and everything that hasn't changed, sadly, in our world. That's where I believe my focus has been as a storyteller. So he really gave a nothing burger answer to that because they were clearly baiting him to say something about the ways that it shames the 90s version of the show.
And his answer, his answer was basically talking about he worked on The Witcher and noticed that, like the She-Hulk writers seem to have an active disdain for their fan base and source material. None of them want to be writing comic book stuff. They're just making it because that's what's fashionable right now.
It's pure opportunism.
Yes. He says, I've been on a show, namely The Witcher, where some of the writers were not actively or disliked the books. So basically saying not actively fans or they disliked the books altogether and even made fun of is actively mocking the source material. It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale. Fandom as a litmus test checks egos and makes the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to its legacy. That's something that's missing in the comic book industry right now is there's very little respect paid to the characters that they keep altering by the people that when you become a new writer on a character that's existed for decades and decades, you're a steward for that character now. You're here to carry it on until the next writer is brought to then carry it on and to keep moving forward. You're not the owner. It's not it's pure hubris to believe that you're the one who should rewrite the rule book on how this character is viewed. Everyone thinks that they're that talented writer who can fundamentally change something about a character. But let's face it, most people aren't that person. And the same goes for these writers here on TV shows that feel like they're smarter than the audience. They're smarter than the person who created the source material when they're not.
With all the... Sorry, go ahead.
So since this show is so consequential, given that the source material is so beloved internationally, would this then be the moment where hating the fans like jumps the shark? Because so they're gonna change the staff pretty much that's running the show, but they got a lot of money invested in it and a lot of time invested in it as well. So do you think they're gonna go? I hate saying this is the route, but like the Black Adam route, where it's gonna be like, oh, we love you guys and we respect the source material.
Just pandering on the other extreme end.
My cynical side says they're doing so to pay lip service, but
Rings of Power is not going to switch strategy if that's what you're asking.
Also, it's sort of too late, right? Like they already
for that show,
they've dug in their heels in a spiteful way.
Yeah,
they've baited the cast members who are nobody's getting their breakout roles into ruining the marketing for Rings of Power before it was even out.
Funny how Black
with all
Adam
the talk
didn't
of like
do that.
Representation in writers' rooms. The only person really that you need to represent is the fan of either the source material or the person who's going to be introduced to it for the first time through this project, right?
But can I give an analogous example with the video game industry?
Yeah.
Street Fighter V released and it was the worst game in the universe. It caused COVID and cancer and all sorts of terrible swine upon the world. I mean...
That's not rumor, that's fact.
Thank you, Miss Reporter. Timcast.com. You'll see it. Go look at it.
Click on the read tab.
Yeah. You'll see it. Search Hannah Claire. She wrote it. No, but for real, it's an atrocious game, and it had a horrible reception. Thank you, second language speaker. It had a horrible.
Not making excuses.
No, I won't.
Kidding.
It had a horrible reception after Street Fighter 4 was a darling. They pretty much fired the guy that ran the game and brought a bunch of people. They try to fix it, and apparently this current version is really good. And Street Fighter 6 looks really impressive. And the people that they got to replace the old staff is going to be the new staff. And it looks very promising. And I wonder if this is that for the show. Because a bunch of people are now very optimistic, myself included, by the way, are very optimistic about the future of that game and that franchise and the company in general. And so I wonder if this is like a low-key way of saying, like, hey, guys, this isn't going to fly anymore.
There's a really interesting part. That could be true. I think part of it is also, there was a really interesting part in that stream where they talk about how because these shows are written in a vacuum, meaning that they're all written at once, there's no way to kind of gauge audience reception of characters to change things as they go. and it wouldn't matter anyways because
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think they
because
care.
because they're automatically antagonistic towards the audience anyway. But he points out that back in the day on network television, when you had 22 episodes a season, you used that first 13 episodes, and then as you waited for the second half of the season to get its renewal, you could change storylines in the back 9 episodes based on which characters were getting the best fan response when they actively engaged and wanted an audience that wanted them.
Yeah, well, I remember, I don't remember the actress's name, but she plays April Ludgate on Parks and Rec. In one of the first seasons, there's like some episode where she's talking and Chris Pratt's character Andy does something, and she's like, "Yeah, I get it." Like she, and then she did this interview. She's like, "Oh yeah, I did that on purpose because I just feel like at that point I had been playing the character for a little while, and I thought I could kind of like figure out." And then their relationship became a major plot point for the rest of the show. I mean, I think this is the issue with writing in a vacuum, and I would argue guaranteeing 4 seasons of a show.
Yeah.
You don't require your writer's room as well as your actors to become adaptable, and it becomes about the message you want to produce, not the message that is both organically developing out of, you know, people collaborating. You know what I mean?
They claim is they've got the show written out already through its completion seasons ahead,
But that's
but
not
they
good.
just started filming the second season.
All 5?
A couple of all 5.
Wow.
Like he said, one of the showrunners said, like, I know what happens on the last episode of the last season. Like, it's actually insane. But they only started filming the second season a couple of weeks ago, even
He
though
might have an
they
outline. There's
knew
no way
that they
they have
had
all.
to film it way ahead of time. So the way Amazon is like 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the project, even after taking this deal with the Tolkien estate, that they have to finish it 5 seasons out. It just shows that they don't actually have an investment in this project.
There are examples of that being done well. I love the show Bosch, and those seasons are all written. Those are based on what?
Oh, sorry.
Michael Connelly books, and so they take different storylines in the show from the various Michael Connelly books based on that character. And they're all written at once, filmed at once, and then released all at one time.
I would argue that, like, if you're adapting a book that is like a long-standing series, like
Well, they're
those
not
characters,
adapting
like that's
one.
why what's House of the Dragon based off of? That
Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones, thank you. Game of Thrones like had an audience. It already had fandom with the books. The TV show made it bigger, and there are some people who don't read the books, they just watch the show, right? Those characters are developed. Writing 5 seasons of a show with however many episodes that far in advance, to me it sounds like they'll dig their heels in and they want certain things to happen, and that is problematic for a lot of reasons, predominantly because what if you have an actor who can't carry off that part, therefore the character becomes not convincing, so that storyline falls
Well, that's
apart.
what I'm saying.
Like, they're putting themselves in a position where they've not only offended the fans, but they have handcuffed themselves to a message or to a storyline that like has no flexibility. I just think this is doomed from the beginning because it sounds like someone in this decision-making tree has an idea of what they want to produce, and they are hell-bent on it, whether or not it's actually good for anyone involved.
They're in a defensive posture where they have to preempt the backlash that they're going to get, rather than, like Brett said, trying to craft the TV show to appeal to what the fans of it want.
There's no
over
joy.
time.
There's no joy.
flexibility.
There's no joy. There's no gratitude. There's no idea that you have when you're watching these shows that they feel honored to write this stuff or honored to adapt these characters. All you feel is spite and disdain when you watch this stuff. If not just factory, even worse, like factory line writing that could have been written by an AI program.
Do you think it's that like they feel disdainful for the fandom or for the
I think
material? I mean, because if it's $1 billion show, someone's got to be excited to work on it.
I actually think it's worse. I think a lot of it is like, imagine like you're hired to write this show, right? And you're like, if you're a Tolkien fan and you really love his work, maybe you see that as a challenge and you can't wait to work on this challenge. But imagine you don't really care about it, and then you're being told to adapt this work that everybody loves. You're actually going to feel resentful towards the material because you know on the top of your head that it's never going to reach the heights of the stuff that you're adapting it based on.
Well, that's why I think we should stop adapting things that are already in existence.
That's
As we know, I don't need to open that door.
So what's the point of firing all these people then if they're just gonna dig their heels?
well, it's the showrunners.
Well, they're not even getting fired. They're just getting shifted around for 1 or 2 other people who probably are equally as bad at their job, right?
Well, it
or
won't
equally
matter.
disdainful. And I think that disdain, it does get aimed at all fans of the fantasy genre
In particular.
in
sci-fi.
and sci-fi, but it is also for the original author. It is for Tolkien specifically, because there's this idea that like he didn't deserve the success and fame and the legacy that followed his works. And that's an immense body of work, by the way, that I'm sure not all the people working on this project are familiar with, even slightly.
Also, I should point out that the example I gave of Bosch, Michael Connolly was in the writer's room on the show. So he was part of the writing team on the show as well as the writer of the novels. So he was involved in the entire
And George
process.
R.R. Martin is very decidedly not a part of House of the Dragon.
He's too busy not writing the
Right.
final book.
Well, he says he's writing it, but
What was your theory on that?
I think it's done. I think it's done, and he's not going to let it come out until he's dead.
I think I would do that too.
That like he just
I don't
he
need to know what
doesn't-
people
he
think of
doesn't-
my body of work.
Well, he's already
Really?
built this legacy. Like
Yeah.
he's
Also,
never
no one's
gonna
gonna be happy with it. Right?
there's already a
Like,
faction of his fan base that dislikes him.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, you made all this money. You might as well just keep your book, publish it after you die, so your kids get some extra money, and also then you don't have to listen to anyone be like, "You did this thing. I thought you were gonna do this thing." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
That's actually a side plot on the show iZombie, where the character of Clive, who's extremely buttoned down and unemotional, gets really upset whenever George R.R. Martin gets brought up, because he's like, whatever he's doing right now, he's not writing when he should be writing. Like it's a huge plot line.
I have a mix of your theory and mine, which is that he already had it written, but then the show got ahead of him, and it got such a bad reception because it was poorly done, not necessarily because the plot was bad. And people were like, "Oh my god, this sucks!" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, right."
that was the worst.
Why would you ever do that? He's like erasing everything and starting over.
That would be funny. I also like that idea.
So yeah, to me, it's a lot of disdain and it's a lot of pushback for stuff that doesn't need to be there, because these people are being forced to adapt things that reach levels of success that they're never going to find.
There's so
Like-
much dishonesty about it that comes out when you get into arguments with people about things like this on the internet specifically. Like, I'm sure that if you got down to the very point of it, where this disdain for Tolkien's fan base comes from, it's the fact that the author was a privileged white man who had chauvinistic ideas about, you know, women and masculine strength and what a hero is supposed to
Has
be.
Amazon like put out a statement about that?
They won't even address the fact
They
that
haven't
the
even
ratings are
addressed.
bad.
They barely even addressed that Tolkien exists.
I want to.
And like, he also was religious, and
Yeah.
we know that they don't want to address that publicly either.
I've got a question, and it's kind of just floating around in my head, so I'm going to try and verbalize this the best way I can. Do you think the fact that they see all works as something that can be adapted and reimagined, do you think that speaks to their inability to create their own thing?
Yes.
And without the ability to create on your own, you don't have any actual understanding, like a functional understanding of what it's like to create your own thing from scratch. And without that, it keeps them from having the amount of respect necessary to adapt the work.
I think it's twofold. I think that there are a lot of people who are sort of told not to be creative because creativity comes with risks, and therefore they are out of practice. They literally could not, if you ask them to, come up with an original body of work completely. And that's hard for anybody, right? To be completely 100% original. I think the other aspect is like, they don't want to, they don't care about it. Like, it's not actually about the creative pursuit, right? It's about fame for most people. They want their name attached to something. So even if they don't like Tolkien for whatever values he has, like, he is a major source of work. Lord of the Rings is a recognizable thing. And if you become the showrunner for this or the director for that, then you are automatically climbing in the Google search pages. I think that being creative doesn't pay the bills the way that people would want to, so they kind of abandon the practice. Because I think a lot of creative people at their core have some fundamental values, whether or not I agree with them, driving what they do. And that's why you see such a big difference between people who are trying to push the message and people who seem fundamentally tied to like whatever they're creating.
That may be the best argument to never do a sequel or a rerun ever again. Because if people are just doing it to get a
Welcome
check,
to my political platform.
you got my vote. Because if everyone's just doing this, like, oh, well, I worked on whatever 16, like, and they don't like it, but they just wanted a check mark for the next step, it sucks, dude.
Also, if you're like, I think there's a fundamental difference between the people who created these legendary works because they created it out of a labor of love, and it was something. It was a story. It was stories that they felt needed to be told that inspired them, and the people that are creating things, part of the Hollywood machine, aren't creating things that inspire them. They're creating things that bring them either fame, money, or both.
Yeah.
And there's just, it's almost like the impurity of it is palpable.
Well, and I would say that like people who are in Hollywood don't benefit from it the same way. Like,
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know how to phrase this. I feel like if you were told to be creative and you had to present very vulnerably something you came up with and something that was reflective of your perspective of the world or whatever, like that's very challenging to do. It's much easier to be the person who's like, well, I know this movie made a lot of money, but I have decided based on today's cultural norms, these are the errors with those characters. So now I will go back and re-release this thing using the fame and fandom, but correcting it so I look virtuous, right? They are not...
That's abhorrent.
Yeah, but that's what it
I'm
is.
sure there are also so many people who are ready and willing to create new stories, and they just need the backing of, you know, a studio like Amazon or even a smaller one, but they're just not getting it because that's not winning right now.
Well, and those
And it
those
would come with
stories
the
do
risk,
exist.
right?
Yeah, and there's a risk to it.
Those stories do exist and arguably, like I said, I find more good stuff to watch. I go out of my way to find stuff that's not getting press, not in like obscure way, but just like I said, like Terminalist is not a good example because Chris Pratt got a bunch of backlash.
The
But
Peripheral is
like,
a good example.
yeah,
I didn't see a lot of press for that.
there was almost no press for The Peripheral.
However, it wasn't good.
I enjoyed the first 2 episodes of Peripheral, and I wasn't a huge Westworld guy or anything like that. But it's like I'm saying, I find a lot more enjoyment because it feels like in one of the YouTubers that I love, Comics Matter, always talks about how pop culture today feels like homework. Everything feels like you have to watch this, and then to watch this, you got to watch these 3 series that connect to it, and you have to know about this.
tiresome.
Like a lot of times, Caper 2 X would be like, watch the Emergency Awesome video breaking down all this stuff. I don't want to watch stuff that I feel burdened to watch. I want to watch stuff that I don't feel like pausing 500
And even
times.
if it's connected to a larger body of work, it should still be able to stand up alone as a piece of entertainment without that context.
Yep.
I think it's so interesting because Amazon has the financial resources and customer base to actually be, excuse me, sir, I'm talking.
It was you interrupting you. Which is
Oh, how
Yeah.
meta. No, I think Amazon has the customer base and financial support to be able to back independent creators. So like whether it be smaller movie houses or doing whatever, like they could give them the money and the platform and the access to an audience like no one else and still be financially secure, because even if people say like, I'm going to cancel my Amazon account because I don't like this thing that you let come out, like that's not enough to hurt Amazon's bottom line. You know
No,
what I
it's
mean? Like
not.
so many people rely and depend on Amazon. So theoretically, they're in the best position to allow up and coming creative people to take risks and introduce like a breath of fresh air to this industry. But they won't do it because ultimately they'd rather recycle content and again, rise through the Google ranks.
I think that stuff does get made. We just don't hear press about it. Like, how many things do you scroll through? If you do, like, I know you don't go on streaming services that much, but if the average person is scrolling through, I think they said the average person spends 5 minutes before they even find something they want to watch, if
But
not
this
longer.
is like, that's why
Think
I
of-
liked Netflix back in the day, because I knew that there were a ton of stuff that, like, you know,
Yeah.
you may never meet anyone else who'd seen the movie, but like you were getting access to a lot of different kinds of things. But now the Netflix algorithm, and I'm sure the Amazon one works the same way, will feed you what it's trying to get you to, or what the most amount of people have clicked on, which isn't necessarily the same thing as like
And
supporting
even
a small
lot
creator.
of the originals on a Netflix or Hulu or Amazon are stories that they dramatize from real events. So you're still not writing your own story.
Yeah.
It's still the lowest possible effort.
And it's so unfortunate because I know the kind of people that would be brought to tears to work for a project like that.
But they never hire those. It's like they talk
Why?
about how the superhero costumes are oftentimes garbage. Like, why don't they hire these cosplayers who make better costumes at a quarter of the budget? Like, why would you?
It's
Why-
like they want to do things to spite the people that love it.
Well, sometimes I wonder if
point?
it's like tax write-offs. Like they have to spend a certain amount of the money that they
Oh.
generate each year, so they just dump money into projects that don't matter. I would prefer that you poured money into essentially the small business of movie making, like small independent creators, but they're not going to.
Warner Brothers got to $2 billion already. They're $2 billion into their tax write-offs already. Like Zaslav's just there with a scythe. Just
Like what if
"Ah!"
Amazon was like,
there's
it doesn't matter if whatever Lord of the Rings thing does well. Like that's our tax write-off
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
But there's no shortage of trash in like
No.
the independent or indie film
watched-
Sure.
genre.
Not
like
everything is a
no
hit just
matter
'cause
the
it's
price
independent.
tag, there is a whole creative drought going on right now that we're suffering through,
There's
and
a whole genre.
hopefully it will end soon.
There's like B movie. It literally is like the home of B movies, right? Like I watched a movie over the weekend called The Contractor with Chris Pine. It's like it's less than a B movie. It's a B- or a C movie. But I'm like, you know what?
There's a certain charm to it.
There's a certain
Is that what you
charm
think?
in a like a. It was too late to make the Sniper, American Sniper Part 2, and it's already been.
Why would we make a part 2?
I'm saying genre wise that it's in the same realm, right? It looks like it's the type of movie that got like one that didn't go through any rewrites. Like it could have been better if there had been more attention paid to the script. But money gets dumped into those things too. They just get no press.
You know what I want to see is an update from Jeff Bezos' son.
How did he feel
who
about it?
originally told Jeff Bezos, Dad, please don't F this up for me. He is reportedly a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings franchise, loves the books, loves the films, and he was asking his father, like, please don't F this up for me.
Oh my god!
Dad,
And I would love to hear an update from
And
Jeff
he-
Bezos' son on what he thinks of Rings of Power.
Okay, new theory. Jeff Bezos bought into this and backed it up to try and win back his kids after his disastrous divorce
Wow.
from their mom.
There's going to be an
They're
Amazon
like-
original about this.
They're
story
like old enough to be
eventually.
like, we're not coming over for Thanksgiving, and he's like, please, I made a
I'll
cool
buy
new
you
thing.
I'll buy you Lord of the Rings. Please just let me buy your affection.
Divorced kids, man. What is the craziest thing your parent bought you to win your affection?
All right, let's go super chats.
Nathan
Mozzarella
Settle-
sticks.
mozzarella sticks, for real.
It's
Yeah.
not that crazy, Dane.
I know, but
Did
that's-
it work?
Cheap
It's
date.
not. No, it's not Jeff Bezos either. So
Nathan Settlemeyer said, at the same time. I don't know what the context for you saying this was.
Yes, there was no. I didn't see a
Maybe
chat.
we were talking at the same
before that.
time.
We were all. Yeah, probably.
Adrian181 said, $1 billion well spent, right, Crisis Citizens?
So
That
it's-
Crisis Citizens is the next one for sure.
I'm-
After Crisis Nation.
never.
Crisis actors.
All the way.
Crisis Actors is the best still.
Maybe we can get Alex Jones on here someday.
Oh my god.
Maybe. I mean, he's been in this room.
Yes, like that. Would
Few
be
people know this. Pop culture crisis studio lore.
Yes.
B Mafia 716 said J.J. Abrams backed these showrunners.
Yep, Abrams is a hit and a miss with a lot of this stuff. Like one of the reasons, that, like I always reference, Alias was good, right? But like most of his stuff tends to be pretty hit or miss. People love Lost, but Lost went off the rails in the later seasons. Person of Interest was great, but that was more Jonathan Nolan than J.J. Abrams. It's all about who you hire. By the way, Jonathan Nolan is involved in The Peripheral. I
okay.
think that was like because they were like it's from the minds of Westworld. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like that's like the most nondescript thing. It could be like the costume designer.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there one of those with 4?
oh, are we only on the 3?
Based.
Are we on the 3?
Oh,
Sorry, guys.
man.
Aw,
Oh,
dang.
man.
I
Marketing
don't
bitch
think
from
Hannah
there.
Claire had said anything though. So
Brett
technically-
specifically shading our main guest host, Jane.
Yes.
Damn.
Sorry.
Forever known as the main guest host.
Forever.
Regatan said, Hannah probably won't, but whatevs. Go play Elden Ring. Are you going to play Elden Ring?
I would need some more information.
He's been asking
Or-
everyone to play Elden Ring.
What is Elden Ring? Also, my name's Hannah Claire, but
And-
I
yeah,
respect
it's not
that.
Hannah.
I'm probably gonna make that mistake again. So correct me.
What?
I'll probably hit the wrong button again.
Oh,
Wait,
Oh,
somebody tell me what Elden Ring is.
I didn't even know.
Or do I
It's
not
a video
wanna know?
game. It's a really popular one.
is it like Skyrim?
What console do you play it
Kind
on?
of. A bunch. Computer, PlayStation, Xbox.
Okay.
It-
So you have no excuse not to.
It's from a really
You're
pop.
just like
I own-
snorting like Zizek talking about video games to women. It's a game.
ideology. No, but it's a really popular game. Yeah, I'm geeking out right now. It's a really popular game series where the premise is like it's super hard. And in an era where they make everything for press X and you won because you're our little special boy, it's the opposite. It's like, oh, press X, haha, you died.
Has it been around for a
Stupid.
long time?
The creators, it's called From Software. they've kind of had a long line of spiritual successors in a way, and so this is like the latest installment that's open world where you can you're not. It's not a straight path where you walk. You kind of like, well, I wonder where I go.
There was a great video, a great meme I saw over the weekend. It's like when your friend is a Dark Souls player. I'll send it to you later. It's, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's great.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
If this game were in front of me, I would play it, but I can't say I'm going to seek it out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I really want the Kanye West open world game because he like dropped a preview of it. Have you been looking at his YouTube channel, Dane?
He has a YouTube channel?
Yeah, like an official one. He like posted this video titled like last week or something, and it started with this like, I don't know, maybe a fake teaser for a Donda themed video game where you can like switch between different Yeezy outfits and do different like poses, and then like walk around an open world where everyone's wearing Yeezy.
And they can have a timed grenade, just like the STEM player that looks like the GoldenEye grenade.
But like, what's the end goal? You like walk around and you're like, you're in Yeezy, I'm in Yeezy.
It was sort of like an adventure game. Like you were like trying to do, like you were trying to obtain this key and then open a door.
I love that he made his mom a verb. Because you said like a Donda-esque game. Like, freaking A, that's insane marketing. What a guy.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with it, but yeah, he did that. Waffles Sensei said, all-star cast today, go off PCC. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Hannah Claire, Tokyo Drift, was it the best or are you wrong?
Excuse me, I'm just going to slide out of frame for a minute. Let's go. Bye.
Do not force her to answer for her actions.
Look. Okay. I was off last week, I was working on the news side of things, but I wasn't on pop culture, so I did not watch it. I will get back on it. I'm thinking about doing a double or triple feature
You'll have
weekend.
time because we won't be having a show on Tuesday next week.
Yeah, so I'll catch up next week. How about that? And I'll watch like definitely 3, probably 4. We'll think about 5. I have to say, I am not motivated to watch these movies, and bear with me as it takes me a long time to do this.
Fortunately, 3 is the best one.
The best part is that there's a deadline. Like, we all agreed that if I can watch all of them before the 10th one comes out, I don't need to watch the 10th one. But if I'm still watching them when the 10th one comes out, I have to watch that too.
Brett, do you know when the 10th one is scheduled?
Spring next year.
I don't think
you
I'll
don't
be
have
done
long.
by then.
You don't have very long.
Oh, no.
Potatoes for Seamus said, so glad Hannah Care is back. Sorry.
Hannah Care is Self-Claire.
Thank you guys for having me. It's fun to be back.
Chris Bertman said, fake news. I said, read all the articles. Shout out to Timcast News.
Chris Bertman, I'm going
Who do
to
you
question
believe?
if you're fired. I'm just kidding. I don't have that kind of authority. No, honestly, Chris Bertman works really hard on the site, so I'm excited that he's joined our team. And yeah, just keep your aggression to yourself, sir.
Chris has been fantastic. He comes on the show.
Wow, so he was a good recommendation from me.
Fantastic recommendation.
Chris Bertman.
So really, when Chris Bertman on, it's like having you on.
Yep.
Wow, that was hurtful.
F off said, sup fools.
Well, hello, F off.
Hello.
How you doing?
1,000 Foot Deep End said, I had a thought as to why Amazon said Rings of Power would succeed regardless of if people liked it. It's because they're obligated to make 5 seasons no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's actually good or not.
Yeah, they're basically...
Yeah, it doesn't matter what happens. It has to go through.
2 decades from now, they're like, well, it got 5 seasons. How bad could it be?
I can't imagine how it's going to be profitable for them.
But they...
Thank you, guys.
Thank
A
you.
good example is
Merch?
the show. Yeah, well, I mean, that's where the money's made, right? Is on merch, and that's like none.
People don't like this. Are you gonna buy the
Halloween
like,
costumes?
Imagine having to go as Galadriel on a freaking horse for Halloween with that stupid smile on her face.
Oh, what do you guys think is gonna be the most popular Halloween costume this year?
Dahmer.
Oh yeah, and they've
That was
already
not
told
Halloween.
people not to do that, so they want to do it even more.
Sorry, Simone Biles. I'm not. In fact, now you just make me want to dress
Look
up
at
as
all
Jeffrey
this
Dahmer
stuff.
more because you tell me I can't.
Maybe House of the Dragon
I
stuff.
feel like House of the Dragon stuff, and then there was some other show that got like really popular this year. Like I remember,
I think it's that.
I just
think
feel
it's
like
Dahmer.
January was such a long time ago that I can't remember what
Yeah,
was like
Dahmer
cool
was.
and
I mean,
fun.
Dahmer had better ratings than all of those.
Yeah, but Dahmer is sort of a lame costume. You're just sort of a skinny blonde guy with some glasses.
Did I tell you the story about how I had to have those glasses? My dad made me have them.
No, that's funny. Is your hair still blonde?
Yes.
Let me see.
He cut it.
I cut it.
Prove
He's
it.
trying to get rid of the
Prove it.
evidence.
Prove it. Take your hat off.
Can you believe this? See,
I think we should re-bleach it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't
I'm just
understand.
gonna cut it off.
Don't you want to match Mary? Don't
No.
you guys want to have like a?
That's like
a
our
vibe?
thing,
It's our thing now.
right?
My dad, when I was young, I used to break glasses so often that he made me get the ones with the bar across the top that made me look like a serial killer. And he said, if you break every time you break these, you get nothing but this kind of glasses again until you've had them for over a year.
We need photo evidence that this happened.
I have it. I have the it's
Photo-
awful.
Photo evidence
Genius
of
move.
bleach your head.
Genius move.
Thank you.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, speaking of nepotism, I heard Mary was originally hired because Shane owed Casper, who's Mary's brother, a favor. That's what I heard, but I don't know.
What?
Like Casper, the friendly
The
ghost.
ghost.
Oh, okay.
'Cause I'm Ghost
Yes, you're
Girl.
Ghost Girl. Okay.
Love it.
What were the brothers' names in the Casper movie? Did anybody here see the Casper movie?
They have names.
They have names.
They're irrelevant. They're overshadowed by the title character.
Well, it's got Christina Ricci. It's fantastic.
I think I saw Tim watching that months
That's
ago.
amazing.
Many months ago.
Prepping for Halloween.
That's
that guy.
amazing.
It was such a weird film.
I would love to see just a picture of Tim just sitting around watching the Casper movie.
It
from
happened. I
1995.
watched it in real time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I also unironically saw another comment one time that said, like, Mary only got hired here because her father got her in. And I was like,
What?
He literally didn't know who Tim Cast was.
Thank you.
Panther Cole Max said, the Fast and the Furious 1954 review went, what?
You might like that one, the original.
That, wait, really?
If
I
I
had
watch
no
that
idea
one,
that it began.
Can I take one of the other ones off?
No,
Why didn't we mention that she needed to watch the?
because that's
You
not
didn't.
part of the. It's not part of that. Part of that
You
franchise.
can't even use the word trilogy.
You were actually about to say the word trilogy. That's
Yeah,
funny.
It's not
That's
part of that
hilarious.
franchise. It's based. It's loosely based off of that. It's that name, but then based off the article that was written about street racers.
Huh?
Yeah.
Is it public domain?
I don't know. That's a good question. You should watch that.
The Last of My Kind said, Hannah Claire, opinion for guys growing mustaches. Or the guys, meaning Dane and Brett specifically, growing mustaches.
Okay. I was gonna, like, kind of depends on your face shape.
I'm not
like,
doing the solo stash.
They absolutely refuse.
I think more men can pull off a mustache than they realize, but I feel like I can very rarely see Dane without a full beard. Like, Dane is sort of a full beard
I
guy.
agree.
I think Brett could do a mustache, but
I
would he
think
dye it blonde?
Brett
is the
looks
question.
good, clean shaven.
Would he
Keeps
bleach
him
his
looking young.
mustache
Every time I
blonde?
shave, I cry silently to
cry.
myself. I'm like,
Why?
why did you do that?
One day I trimmed my beard down, and Mary came and was like, "You shave!" Like literally.
I
Like,
do that whenever Brett shaves too. I'm like, what the?
I like that
Who
you
are
shave
you?
it, except it freaks me out.
Yeah. Let's do one more, and then we'll move on to the next topic, and we'll keep it going.
Okay, Caper2X said, under the command of dear leader Dasovic, the PCC Politburo gathers today. Welcome back, Comrade Mary, Commandant Dave, and esteemed senior academician H.C. Brimolo. Make mine marvel, that is all, PCC peeps.
I've never heard the term academician before.
I love it.
Academician? Have you heard this word
No,
before?
I'm gonna Google it right now.
Like, you're a journalist. You should know this word.
Let's
if
do
it's
one.
real.
Let's do the next one.
Okay,
Well, calm down. I'm a
B-Mafia
journalist, not a dictionary.
716 said Tolkien and C.S. Lewis created their world and stories after serving in the trenches of World War I. The horror they experienced gave way to amazing stories of heroism and the beautiful worlds their stories reside.
Do you think there's some truth to the fact that people just haven't lived hard enough lives to be able to create good art anymore?
that was my
Or
point.
be interesting
Yeah.
people in
Or
general.
in general, yeah.
Like, yeah.
People base their
Totally.
whole. We had a discussion recently about how people base their whole lives on Friends or which Friends
Yes.
character you are or something that embarrassing.
That was Monday. That
Yeah.
When I go to the mall or wherever there's people, I'm like, "Oh, you're a Chandler. You're a Phoebe."
I
see.
I got set up on a date once, and the guy asked me what Friend's character I was, and I had
Oh.
never seen it.
It's the
And he
worst
was
question
like,
to
the
I
fact that
really-
he doesn't have
He
any.
was like, I
friend-
really want to be a Joey, but I'm actually a Ross. And I was like,
Christ
I'm
almighty.
Gunther,
My
that
favorite
blonde
was
guy
the-
with the cappuccino machine.
You said that?
Yeah, I
There's-
just like I didn't really connect the show that much, so I didn't really know what to say.
I don't even know Gunther was a person.
I didn't either.
There was a.
He was an extra, but he could operate the cappuccino machine, so they kept him around. He was like,
That's
that's how
funny.
I feel.
There's
Seems
a
useful.
meme that says it was for the movie Dune, and it just says how you Dune, and it's just all of what is that, Joey, or is that she has Joey? It's just all him instead of all the Dune characters. Like, I love the internet for stuff like that. The internet, like earlier, I was like, the society will fall apart.
You're
as long
such
as
an
the internet-
innocent soul, Brett.
Like I said earlier, I said society will never form any type of cohesion ever again because the internet will never allow it. But when it comes to mindless humor, let's go. Have you seen that guy's account who just does dramatic readings of like badly worded signs?
No.
It's incredible. He reads.
You love people who have their gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, well,
I've noticed that about you.
A big one is like church signs that are spelled wrong or letters have come off, and he just reads it as
Or like fast food restaurants have the signs that are written wrong.
Yeah, like it's great.
Try
like,
new sandwich.
Hello.
I love when you send me memes. I feel loved.
He sends me memes too. I just don't look at them.
No, I don't anymore. I'm
Okay,
petty
good.
now. I'm petty.
I send Brett like a lot of Kardashian conspiracy theories for whatever reason.
Yes,
Dude, I've been watching that
Have
show
you
because of
seen-
my girl.
Okay, I've never seen it, but I did see a clip of like
It sucks.
Kim crying about something, and then these like TikTok detectives are like, "That's a CGI tear. Like that's not real." And I
That's
was like,
crazy.
"Must
Yeah,
send to Brett."
It's crazy.
See if you
It-
responded
dude.
to your coworkers,
We-
you would know these things.
We didn't talk about it. We should have talked about it.
It was
That would have been crazy.
hilarious.
All right, let's move on, guys. Don't worry, we're gonna read all the super chats. We'll just get to them after this next segment, which is this is the harder one to get through. Mary, do you want to tell us all about what's going on with Harvey Weinstein, please?
Sure.
I'm putting this on you.
I love that.
Right, because the woman has to speak about the Weinstein
yeah,
trial.
of course.
I understand. So I've just realized that like defense lawyers for accused R-wordists are pretty much allowed to say the things that we would get canceled on Twitter for saying.
I told Mary, I was like, let's just go become lawyers so we can say a bunch of heinous stuff that.
So Weinstein is on trial right now, currently from many Jane Does in Los Angeles County, accusing him of assault and R-word. And his lawyer, Mark Worksman, is really quite the poet, describing what these women's intentions were.
Bringing chauvinism and hatred to women almost to a level of eloquence and poetry.
It's quite shocking. He said, "Look at my client. He's not Brad Pitt or George Clooney. Do you think these beautiful women had sex with him because he's hot? No, it's because he's powerful." He said that in Hollywood, transactional sex was par for the course in a way that it isn't today. Sex was a commodity for rich and powerful men like my client, he said. Weinstein's attorney said that he got his own nickname, the casting couch.
Wow.
Transactional sex, it may have been unpleasant and now embarrassing, Worksman said, but everyone did it. He did it. They did it. And he said that the MeToo movement is like a movie that turned Weinstein into Hollywood's Chernobyl, casting him in the smoldering radioactive part of the bad guy.
I feel like he wanted to be a writer in another lifetime.
I mean, clearly he is one. This is amazing.
Did you put this guy in
Prose.
Rings of Power?
Honestly, yeah, better prose than the Rings of Power.
They're like, could you
script.
tell us about Sauron in like the most vivid way possible?
Listen, Sauron just wanted power, and
Dude.
that's a completely human
This
desire.
is normal. It was
Yes.
a commodity.
The sequel to the casting couch is the Me Too trial. They will play the part of the damsel in distress with this beast. They have to
Damn.
lie to themselves, to you, to this court. Their hypocrisy is on full display. Really quite shocking.
I'm of two minds of this. Number one, I want Mary to narrate my life after that. After just reading this guy, for some reason he's sounding very powerful and commanding. And the second is that I don't... God, I'm really scared to talk about this. But, like, I don't know the details of this thing.
There's a couple of them that seemed. The very first one that came out today, the lady who was like a Russian actress who was in America for a film festival, is saying that he attacked her in a hotel room, similar to what Jennifer Siebel's Newsom, Gavin Newsom's wife, is saying he did in
She
2005.
is Jane Doe number 4 in this case.
I started hyping her up a couple weeks ago. Like there was a bunch of like Puff Beef articles being like, "Who is like the first partner of California? Here's some stuff." And
You know
then
that
this
that's-
hit, and I
that's a-
was like, "Oh,
First
how-
gender-neutral
how-
partner.
That's
How
a term-
interesting that
California.
you guys suddenly just magically had all these profiles go up about her right before this."
I think I
that's-
heard the audio of the Russian lady that you're talking
Yeah.
about, and it was pretty disturbing because it was like, "You ain't getting out of here" or something like that.
Hers rang quite true in the courtroom. So for that, it's like I'm of two minds, right? Like for the ones that rise to the level of assault, that stuff is abhorrent and awful. But then it's always kind of commingled. Like you said, they've coalesced under the banner of all being into one movement. So the women who just went along with it because they wanted to get a role are being put into the same camp as the women who were actually physically assaulted.
The women with varying degrees of seriousness to their allegations are all in a coalition right now, and some people believe that it ultimately hurts the ones with the most serious claims.
Yep.
In fact, I was just looking at a press conference that Rose McGowan did where she was talking about how Weinstein's lawyer, David Boies, also made a coalition for victims of Ghislaine Maxwell, that ultimately took the focus off of Weinstein.
Yeah.
And made Ghislaine Maxwell the focal point of all of those accusations and of MeToo, taking the focus off of his client. And also in that press conference, Rose McGowan said that Gavin Newsom's wife, I'm just going to call her that,
Jennifer Siebel.
Gavin Newsom's wife sent an email to Rose McGowan and other accusers of Harvey Weinstein saying that they should all form a coalition together under the representation of David Boies.
Unbelievable.
And he is believed to be now controlled opposition.
Yeah.
Wow.
So much to look into there. But Gavin Newsom's wife alleged R-word by Weinstein in 2005 in a hotel room. I'm not going to get into the graphic details of that, but
Do you want to talk about the fake orgasm?
Well, you just went and mentioned it, so
We have to at least mention. I didn't know if that's what you were dancing around. I think it has to be mentioned.
okay. Weinstein's attorney called it no more enthusiastic signal of consent than yes, yes, yes. So Mr. Weinstein believed that she consented.
They're saying that she faked an orgasm to get out to make the attack end quicker.
Oh my God, dude. This is...
Yeah.
I think it's so hard to talk about these things because there are scenarios where like I could legitimately believe someone would do that if they were really being like assaulted or like whatever the dynamic is. And I do think that like power dynamics play into pressure that people feel like they may have to like have sex with someone or do whatever. Like I don't want to downplay that. It's just like I think that kind of pressure and then the culture that supports it is different than like physical assault, and both can be serious, but like to roll them into one actually seems to dilute some of the seriousness of
well,
one
it
of
makes
them.
it harder for people to talk about, right?
And
So
it makes me wonder if the people whose cases were 2005, like you don't have any evidence, there's no video camera footage of them leave, like you can't really corroborate a lot of these stories. Like if by bundling the cases together with people who do have hard evidence, it lends legitimacy to something else, which may be legitimate, may not. I'm not a lawyer and I was not involved in this, but like it's just hard to say because like.
But it can discredit like the ones with hard evidence.
That's what I mean. But like if you had hard evidence for something and I was like, yeah, that happened to me too. If you win your victory and we're a bundled lawsuit, then I also win, even though I didn't have to show the same level of evidence that maybe you did.
This is kind of what I was talking to you about earlier. Like my point was like, yes, there are no R-word kits. There's no DNA evidence, but there's other ways that you can at least corroborate that they were in the same area at the same time, right? And the older those clips get, the farther back those claims go, the harder and harder it is to corroborate that. And lumping them all into one coalition of people, it does a disservice to the people that are actually like that were severely attacked.
It ultimately strengthens Weinstein's case and makes it way easier for Mark Worksman, his attorney, to use clever wordplay to lump them all together as having the same level of credibility. And specifically in Jennifer Siebel Newsom's case, Gavin Newsom continued to get financial backing in his political campaigns from Weinstein after this alleged assault occurred. And it's doesn't lend credence to her allegation at all.
Yeah.
Worksman said she'd be just another bimbo who slept with Harvey Weinstein to get ahead.
Dude just used bimbo without a thought in his head. Incredible.
Defense attorneys are just allowed to say anything
they can
these
say
days,
anything,
I guess. And another thing that I wanted to bring up in regards to this trial is the Brad Pitt produced film She Said, which is coming out next month.
Yeah.
Less than a month from now.
And his
on November 18th, I believe.
And his attorney is worried that it's going to color people's opinions of the trial.
So Harvey Weinstein's lawyer actually, back when this trial started on October 10th, requested that the trial be postponed until January next year, just so that they could avoid the media storm that would follow from it. Yeah. This movie, produced by Brad Pitt, is about the downfall of Harvey Weinstein. Yep. It's a fictional or like fictionalized, dramatized retelling of the story of two New York Times reporters who originally made the expose on Harvey Weinstein's behavior. And that was a huge part of what kicked off the MeToo movement.
Man, I feel like this is the tragedy of our times, dude. The tragedy of our time is that nuance has been murdered 1,000 times fold by nefarious parties.
Thank you.
And here we are in a situation that really deserves a lot of scrutiny and a lot of, bias and understanding. And we're so divided, and consent and agreement is so commodified and trivialized that some people are going to get justice and some people aren't, man.
There are bad people on all sides of this issue. Yeah. I totally agree. And the theory that Gavin Newsom's wife is some type of controlled opposition against other victims who have way more serious allegations than hers even, it's concerning to say the least.
She's such a powerful person, that allegedly that would present something like this under a positive light, but under the guise of helping the abuser. It's so the energy's just so messed up with this.
I was looking to see who plays him in the movie. There's no Harvey Weinstein person listed. I thought maybe they'd race swap Harvey Weinstein. Maybe
right now
maybe they gender swap Harvey Weinstein in the movie.
Two reporters played by Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan. And it's coming out as a theatrical release in November. And the judge in this trial rejected Weinstein's attorney's request to postpone the trial because essentially she said you can't avoid a huge amount of media coverage for this trial regardless of what happens. Yeah. So if you waited for it to blow over, you would wait forever. Yeah, basically
go on forever.
I also wanted to bring up a Lana Del Rey song from 2011 or maybe no, it was like 2012 called Cola. And the implications it had, she, in that song, called out Harvey Weinstein by name. And
which would be pretty shocking considering he was still in power at that time.
Yeah, and an anonymous source, unconfirmed source for Page 6 claimed that she named him in this song after he made advances at her and she rebuffed him in 2012. It's confirmed that she first met Harvey Weinstein in May 2012 when he approached her at Cannes Film Festival wanting to make her into a movie star.
You're going to be a star.
And when Harvey Weinstein approaches you saying that he can make you a star, I'm sure, you should be worried. And that never ended up panning out. They also had a high-profile lunch date in July 2012, just a couple of months after that. And she, I think, was associated with him as late as 2014 when he requested that she write a track for Tim Burton's movie Big Eyes.
I'm surprised she never did a Bond theme song.
She's definitely a Bond girl archetype.
I feel like
she makes a lot of songs that
I feel like she could have easily written the same Skyfall that Adele wrote.
Her lyrics are really controversial, actually, because she writes about abuse and power dynamics, but in a disturbingly honest way about how women sometimes use those power dynamics to their advantage.
And the feminists don't like that.
That quote you read about her from
her question for the culture in
I
2019. She feels like there's been a double standard against her because other so-called feminists in the music industry make a lot of so-called sex-positive lyrics about how they express their sexuality. But when she does it in a way that's less, I say, politically correct, then it's considered unfathomable and she's shamed for it.
Almost less narratively correct rather than politically correct.
Because they claim that she romanticizes abuse. That's the basic claim against her. And I think even if that is what her music is doing, which I'm not sure it is, even if it is, though, is that not her artistic right?
Yeah, because music is supposed to be cathartic.
Remember there's all those articles about how rappers are not supposed to be able to be tried based on the song lyrics they write about stuff that's far more vulgar. Right?
Anyway, that source to Page 6 also claimed that Harvey threatened Lana Del Rey with legal action if she did not change the lyric of her song Cola to take out his name. And ultimately, she did change the song lyric from Harvey's in the sky with diamonds to he's in the sky with diamonds.
She's like, I got a fix for this.
And there are other lyrics in the song like I've got a taste for men who are older. And I know your wife and she wouldn't mind.
It speaks a lot to also think about not just that, but think about what he's gotten away with. Think about Kevin Spacey just got the Anthony Rapp case just got dismissed. In court, right? And then all the articles conflated. They're like Kevin Spacey found innocent. I'm like, not innocent, but found not liable for the vague claim.
There's a reckoning for Me Too happening right now.
Do you think that that all of these cases would have benefited more if they'd made it through the court system quicker when there was more outrage?
This is after the pomp and glamour of that movement has completely died down and become memory hold, really.
Yeah, like a
Rose McGowan. Think of the position she's ended up in where she's just had her credibility entirely stolen from her.
Yep. And do you think about Amber Heard this summer where the whole thing got blown up into something completely else entirely?
Now Brad Pitt, by the way, has history with Harvey Weinstein. Allegedly, Harvey Weinstein made a pass at Gwyneth Paltrow back in 1996, I believe. Yeah. And Brad Pitt found out about it and actually confronted him and threatened him with what he called a Missouri whooping.
Well,
he made it clear there would be consequences.
That's worse than
he said he threatened Gwyneth said he threatened Harvey, got right in his face, poked him in the chest, and said, "You will not ever do this to Gwyneth ever again." He was dating Gwyneth Paltrow at the time.
There's a dark comedy movie to be made about a woman who makes it in the industry with Harvey Weinstein's help without him making a pass at her, and she just thinks she's extremely ugly because Harvey Weinstein slept with every woman in Hollywood but doesn't make a pass at her.
Who would that be, though?
I don't know.
Meryl Streep?
No,
I mean, Meryl Streep was known for setting these girls up.
But
with
what's her name?
The
who was
age
dating
makes
Jack
sense.
Anton for a while? Lena Dunham.
So you're saying Meryl Streep is a piece of shit?
So
not confirmed.
And
here's another piece to this story. Angelina Jolie fought with Brad Pitt when they were married in 2009 because Brad Pitt did Quentin Tarantino's movie Inglourious Basterds despite the fact that the Weinstein Company was a financer for that movie. And Angelina Jolie had a prior experience where she narrowly escaped an assault from Harvey Weinstein in a hotel room. And she thought that this was a betrayal. I completely see it from her point of view. Like, I would be so angry. And
well, especially if you've had to personally threaten him before.
Right.
Like, why would you do that?
It's ironic but now that Brad Pitt is in this situation that people are comparing him and Angelina Jolie to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I don't think it's a super... I don't know. I don't think it's a super salient comparison. people are just looking for the next big, trial media storm that's low enough stakes that you can make memes about it, right? But it's just ironic that he's coming out with this movie now because he's getting compared to Johnny Depp, who was kind of unfairly framed as an abuser for so long in the media.
Yep. So that's the whole, like, every time the Weinstein thing comes up, I hesitate to cover it because there's just so many layers to it that are all so bad for you if you get it wrong. Like, you could get one fundamental detail wrong and it makes your whole take awful. If, like, you don't point out that, like, look, yes, there were women that are absolutely accusing him of brutal assault in which he forced them to do things, but they're being conflated with women that just went along to get along because they wanted to get ahead. And if you mix that up, that's bad,
this might make me sound like a bad person, but I don't actually care about the details of each and every accusation. I care about what its implications are for the entertainment industry as a whole. And do abusers still feel like they can get away with the same predatory behavior that they had pre-MeToo?
Well,
I think the answer is that they do feel just as comfortable in that industry.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I feel like to have a full, like, reckoning of Harvey Weinstein, like, yes, he should be held legally accountable for, like, the things that they have evidence for, and I believe there's a ton. But also, like, what about people who, like, enabled this crime? Where are the accessories to
the
his
Oprah
abuse?
Winfrey's, who, like,
Right.
the creepy
Or
picture
The
of her,
Oprah
like,
Winfrey, who co-founded the Time's Up movement, acting like she was never actively part of the problem.
Yeah.
I think
Like,
that's
F you.
That's part of the issue, and it's not even like it's the big name people. It's like bodyguards or security guards or personal assistants who saw this and in some way enabled it. Like, we are only punishing one person, and I think in some way Hollywood was quick to abandon Harvey Weinstein, which obviously they should. He doesn't sound like a good guy, but, like, because they need to cut ties, because anyone else involved, theoretically should also be held to a certain degree of responsibility.
And it's not done. Just because you're done within doesn't mean, like, the assaults are done. And to quote one of my favorite quotes from video games, war never changes. And I think we have seen, in a way, the result of the Me Too movement with these intimacy coordinators and whatnot. I'm sure they existed before, but clearly not as prevalent or as important, right?
Yeah.
And weirdos will be weirdos, and they'll make their ways, and they'll pretend to be, people's friends, and they'll do what they have to do.
I don't
Sadly.
even think intimacy coordinators have done anything to solve this problem.
Bill Murray is still jumping on top of women and
straddling
also,
them
like,
and making out with
an
them.
intimacy coordinator theoretically would be like an on-set person, whereas Harvey Weinstein is, like, on the outside of the process.
That's
like,
before
that
you even get to be on the set.
It doesn't solve the issue because the issue is outside of the set. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's stuff that goes on sets that is inappropriate or potentially dangerous, but, like, the stuff with Harvey Weinstein has to do with, like, people's desperation to set themselves apart from the millions of other people, thousands of other people going out for the same parts as you. And, like, he knows that, and that was, like, that power and that position still exists in Hollywood.
Imagine you walk into a room for an interview with Harvey Weinstein, and sitting to your right, he's like, "This is Janice, my intimacy coordinator." Why is there an intimacy coordinator in this room with us right now at this meeting? I don't want to know.
I mean, we talked about the intimacy coordinator situation and dynamic on the House of the Dragon set, where they had a 17 turned 18-year-old actress. She was casted at 17 with parts in her script that were intimate scenes, like sex scenes. And they waited until she turned 18 to start filming those scenes. And the intimacy coordinator was an active part in making her feel like that was a normal situation, feel comfortable with that. Accept that as just, something actresses do.
You just
like,
gotta do it.
Yeah.
Gross.
Like, and she admitted that she was frightened by the idea of doing scenes like that before, but they obviously groomed her into thinking that it was okay.
And I'm going to hate it because in 10 years, I'm going to have to endure her annoying article where she talks about how her brave story coming out as a victim of grooming by Hollywood, while we're all here like, duh.
And that's what I mean by, so the result of this is intimacy coordinators, because it's never change. It's the illusion of change. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you get assaulted? Well, I'm going to hashtag about it.
Well, and it's
like,
the corporate. It's
how does that help?
It's how corporations solve extremely, extremely nuanced, detailed, oftentimes awful problems, right? Like you cannot solve this with a corporate. There's no corporate solution.
It's more
Even
than
Brad
corporate.
Pitt's movie is profit driven.
Yeah.
I'm actually intensely interested in it, and I want to watch it if it's released in theaters widely enough that
It's
it'll
out
be near
here.
us. Yeah.
But it's more than corporate. It's an archetype of disingenuous person, I feel, in the world, that their way to combat issues, be it this or be it anything else, is always awareness.
Yeah.
This vague...
We have to open a discussion.
Right.
About, yeah.
This
like,
vague, unhelpful, fuddy-duddy, all about emotions, nothing about action.
Yeah. It's always we have to open a dialogue about something. Never actually solve any problems.
Yeah.
Let's go super chats.
F off said, my dad bought my affection by kicking my butt out when I was 18. Sup, fools.
Sup, fool?
Damn.
Newt said, mine bailed me out of jail after he promised he never would.
Ah, you called his bluff. Now you got him for good. Now
sweet,
he's after that.
Halls and the kids said, Dane, Soul Calibur.
It's good.
It's a quiet
Good take.
review.
Waffle Sensei said, Dane, tell her to play Dark Souls 3 instead. Elden Ring is great, but DS3 is better.
Hey, Hannah Claire, play Dark Souls 3 instead of Elden Ring. It's better.
Did it work?
I stand by my position. If the
There's-
game is on when I'm in the same room as it, I'll try it, but I'm not going to seek it out.
There was a comment about how she
tried.
like Hannah Claire would have to start her own Twitch channel. I'm like, there's literally nobody in like a 500-mile radius I could see less likely to play games on Twitch than Hannah Claire.
The thing is, my Twitch channel would really make everyone frustrated because, like, I don't even know how to use the remote.
She's just
Everyone would
how
be
does
like
this thing-
screaming at me, like, "Hit X! It's the left bumper!" And I'd be like,
yeah, I don't have the hand-eye coordination to
That-
be good at video games.
That sounds like $1 million idea. Like chat yells at Hannah Claire how to do things properly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm down.
Like, we see Sniper Wolf using, like, her boyfriend's gameplay footage to seem like she's better at games than she is, but really just be bad at video games so that people yell at you and get mad at you.
So
You'll
I
get
was
more viewers
not
that way.
against it.
This brought me back to I want to go into a little bit of a tangent here because I rewatched those 2 episodes of The Peripheral, and there's a great concept for a show in there in which in the real world the game she's playing with that really cheap looking helmet, right? It only works at different portals that she has to reach. And in the game, the what she does in the game affects what happens in the real world. But because she's good at the game and her brother was a soldier who's extremely adept at physical violence, he has to escort her and basically shepherd her to each checkpoint to play the game to allow them to make it to the next checkpoint. That way both characters get to come off looking strong because he takes care of all of the problems in the physical world and she takes care of all the problems in the digital world. And I think there's actually a great concept there, maybe not within that show, but it would be very interesting to see something like that because I feel like that's
Again,
an aspect of it.
Weird that she was...
Not allowed to play the game.
Well,
We-
weird that, yes, yeah, that
we don't like
sexism
women
in
who-
video games is still a problem in 2099.
Yeah.
And also that she was making out with a digital woman in her
As her
brother's
brother's
body.
avatar,
Avatar,
creepy,
yeah.
creepy.
Don't like it.
You know, it is what it is.
Regatan said, don't listen to Waffle. Elden Ring is beginner friendly.
It really
That
isn't.
sounds like it was anything but beginner friendly.
It's not.
That's not
It's
the
intentionally
problem, guys.
difficult. Bobcat said, so are you all wearing costumes for the Halloween episode?
That's a very good
Are we?
question.
Halloween's Monday, right?
No.
Dane.
Oh my god, no.
It's a
No?
day. Bye. I won't be here.
No? I will.
I mean, let's talk about it.
I don't care what you guys are doing, but I will.
Okay, we'll go.
You have to send them costume ideas. Is the thing they need suggestions.
Oh,
My-
yeah. We need suggestions. What should Dane dress up as on Monday? Tell us, guys. And what should Brett dress up as?
As Brett.
No, that's so
As
lame.
That's
Brett,
not
as
interesting.
Brett without blonde hair.
I think you should dress up as Mary.
That's
I'll
We
wear a
dress up as
Minnesota
each
hat
other.
and you wear this jacket.
perfect.
No, that's lame.
There you go. No,
We
no
could
high
dress up
five.
as each other. Yeah, I could wear like one of your hats and some glasses and a cardigan.
I got plenty of cardigans. I
You
got,
do.
I got
You have
some,
plenty of cardigans.
I've got a bunch that I don't wear because they're too small. You could wear those.
Perfect. Carnell said, what does Hannah Claire think about the meme of her from last week? Inquiring minds want to know. Oh, we can open it here later, maybe.
Yeah, we'll show
There's
it later.
a meme of me?
Yeah, we did our meme review with Dane
man.
while
It's
you were
solid, don't
gone,
worry.
and it was fantastic. There was one of you that required hours of effort, I heard.
6
So,
hours.
Yeah,
in
like
the
5-6
making.
hours
What?
of video editing.
Well,
Don't be scared. It's
no.
good. It was
Well,
funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, if you can't tell. But maybe one day I'll know what it is.
We'll watch it later, okay? Bad App said, y'all calling me out. I just tagged you in my Dahmer costume on Instagram. I didn't see that. I'll have to go look. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, heard a rumor. Mary is going to be a shopping cart for Halloween and still won't return the cart.
See, that
I
would
won't
be-
return myself. It's very meta.
That would be awesome.
That would be fantastic if you went as a or no, actually the more palatable version would be you go as like a cart return person.
Yeah.
Like with the
But no
with
one
the
would
vest-
know what that
With the
means.
vest on and everything.
Everyone in chat would know.
Matt said, skipping your review payments need to add late fee.
So you're gonna have to add 2 more movies because you missed your review.
Immediately no.
Damn.
I'm struggling, team. That was the hard thing about this challenge in the first place. Like, it's not that I've been avoiding it to watch other movies. I don't really watch a lot of movies.
Araftas of Stet said, Brett recommending Elden Ring is giving me Jordan Peterson recommending Attack on Titan vibes.
I didn't recommend.
You never recommended
I
Elden Ring.
didn't recommend Elden Ring.
Maybe he meant Dane.
I think you meant Dane.
Who's
Buddy-
Dane? I mean Dave.
Dave. Buddy Mansur said, Hannah Tesla under CI. If assets froze, buy Twitter. I do not know what this means.
Are you hitting me up with your story recommendations, guys? That means you all read timcast.com. Click on the read tab.
I actually sent Lydia some ideas for her podcast about stuff she might want to talk about
Wow.
recently.
Thanks
Yeah.
for loyalty to me and our
Yes.
company.
Well, you know, it's a little bit
I'm
different.
just teasing you.
It's a little bit different.
She's a vet.
Bad App says, Tim says 20 no's and 1 yes means yes. What does this mean?
What does that mean?
Let's skip it.
Given the context of of the
Yeah.
article we just read, I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, Dane, Ben Affleck was the best butt man.
I agree. That's why Brett likes him.
You guys are so funny.
You're so mad. F off said, Brett, never listen to women unless you're willing to pay the price. My lady convinced me to go to the doctor. I am now off for 2 days, not earning money. I'm solid though. Here's some cash.
Thank you.
He also
Love that.
said,
Do you know that married men live longer and this is why?
Yeah.
She's making it so I can't work because
Damn
she
it,
wants
she
me to
convinced me
be
to
healthy
get
and
medical
take care
care.
of myself.
Something
These
about
women
that
are
horrible
crazy.
wench.
something about going to the doctor for an annual
Something
checkup.
about
I don't know.
asking for directions when you're lost in the middle
She
of nowhere.
wants
at
me
night.
to be healthy. That is just rude.
Just pisses me off. I swear.
F-Off is really smart about money, though. I'll never forget that one.
Is F off the goldsmith?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Right,
What a
remember?
man.
Where he was talking about how he pays people
He's
a
like, yeah.
cook. And he's like, well, actually, I did the calculation. I'm saving a bunch of money. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Dude,
it was great. Or he was like, the chef one, he was like, yeah, I meal prep for the week that way. I was like, oh, genius.
legend.
F off also said, Mary, no, even these little kids don't care about you being bad at a game. No kid is sitting there with chips and soda thinking, dang, I really wish you would hit D more and dodge. For F's sake, substance.
Yeah, you'd be fine.
Okay.
Ladies would be fine.
Only the ladies.
Only the ladies.
Would I be fine?
All the dudes have to be like speed
Well,
runners.
yeah, you have to men. You're forced to be competent.
Right.
What if I do like a slow runner? Like how slowly I could get through a level.
the slowest.
The slowest runner.
Bobcat said, Mary is obviously Harley Quinn. Brett would be a shoe-in for Zodiac.
Out.
Whoa. Dane could easily be Chewbacca.
Easily? What the hell?
And Hannah Claire would be Clarice from Silence of the Lambs. So true.
I don't know who that is,
actually.
but maybe.
Clary. Oh, do you haven't seen Silence with the
No.
Lambs? Dude, that's a hell of a good movie.
No,
Don't
it's
put
not.
movies on my
It's
list.
not.
I'm
Mary
deep in
will fight you on that
Silence
one.
of the Lambs, not a good movie, but
What?
Clarice is accurate. Just only reporting the facts.
How did Mary? You
Do you eat
you must
fava
like some
beans
things.
in a
That's
nice
a good
Chianti?
I
movie.
don't like Silence of the Lambs. Okay, I'm sorry. I would never
Did you watch
rewatch
Hannibal?
It. No.
I feel like you'd like
Not the
Hannibal.
show.
Why?
It's dark.
Is it different from Silence of the Lambs?
it's
I don't like things just because they have dark themes.
there's a lot of
I'm more than
Thank
just my
you.
goth persona.
Right? I know I wear black all the time, but I like having fun when I watch things too.
It's dark, but it's there's a great amount of cat and mouse in the show. The visuals are stunning for a TV show.
Loving this.
There's a lot of violence. It was shocking that it was allowed to be on network television.
Dane and I are
at the
having a
time.
totally different
You're partying while we're
He's over here at
doing
like an
business.
expressive dance.
I always dance.
I love when the lights come on. I can't even describe it.
Mary was talking about e-boys with flashing red and blue
Yeah,
lights
Dane,
yesterday.
get on the wall and pretend that you're getting arrested for all of those TikTok girls right now.
so that they can feel some sense of masculine protection from
Please.
someone somewhere.
Chat, Mary showed me
I showed you the
the
TikToks.
TikToks of the guys getting arrested.
The e-boys who pretend that they're getting arrested with like red and blue flashing lights.
This
And
coun-
they wink at the camera like
Get alive.
This
It's so
country-
bad.
this
But
country.
like I feel so bad for them, but at the same time I was saying on an earlier show on Monday that I totally understand why they post those things because they want validation and there's a gap in the market
Wonder
for
military recruitment is down. And
yes, okay, I totally agree. But like there's a gap in the market in entertainment right
Yeah.
now for men who are portrayed in proximity to danger.
And
no wonder
or
that
just
e-boys are
competent.
capitalizing on that right now by pretending to get arrested on TikTok.
or just competent.
pretending.
I know it's pathetic, but I totally understand where they're coming from.
This country.
When they actually get arrested, they're like sobbing. We need like an Instagram versus reality.
I was
Yeah.
watching. Okay, so I was watching.
it was horrible.
When I was watching Bosch, there's this scene in season 2.
You're like shaking.
There's a scene in season 2 where he rescues his wife and daughter from kidnappers with his partner, and I'm just thinking about how if that show had been made like 5 years later, his partner would be a woman with a pixie haircut, and then I realized that his wife used to be an FBI agent, so it's even kind of still got girl boss vibes, but
Yeah.
she's got flaws, and it's everyone should watch it.
That's
watching-
Bosch. Oh, dude, I fell asleep watching that.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
because it was boring, or
I
'cause
mean,
you were
maybe it was
tired?
better after the first one. Probably tired.
But he can't say for sure.
Well, yeah, you're wrong. So
Okay.
that's all right.
I'm sure.
Oh, you guys you couldn't see it, but Brett just got actively angry.
No,
he tensed. He tensed.
I muzzled a cough. That's what I
Okay.
did there.
Me and Brett are great
it's
friends for
very-
everything but television taste.
It's
Like,
very long form storytelling. You have to watch all the episodes or else it won't make sense, which is different from the stuff I usually watch.
I remember the pilot had like a twist at the end.
Kind of. The season 2 is arguably better than season 1. It gets really good in season 2.
Is it on
Sometimes
Hulu?
these money guns are so
No, it's on Amazon
enthusiastic.
Prime.
yeah.
Can you see it? Like,
What?
make sure Bosch Bosch.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
look it up.
yeah. Titus Welliver. It's worth it. Everyone go watch it.
I'm in the middle of watching Mr. Robot right now, and I think they do a good job of like showing the dark side of the girl boss life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the blonde character.
For Angela and
Yeah.
also the FBI agent in the second
Oh, yeah, yeah.
season. Forget her name.
The redhead. She's the daughter of Meryl Streep.
Dominique.
If
That
you wanna,
girl.
if you want
Redhead
an
FBI
example-
agent.
an example
They
of
have
a good
pathetic
writing
lives.
trope.
Yeah.
The trope, or not the trope, the storyline in that show where he takes where he buys his opiates, his pills, and the he buys like, is it Dilaudid or Oxycontin, whatever he takes, and then he also buys the Suboxone.
morphine, I think.
He gets the morphine, and then he takes the Suboxone to prevent the withdrawals. That's a very, very effective tool to bring it into the real world where there's drug addicts everywhere who did that exact, like I used to do that exact type of stuff. I used to have to do that exact type of stuff to prevent myself from going through withdrawal on a regular basis. So as soon as you see something like that, which wouldn't be shown on
Yeah.
a network show, it automatically grounds it in a reality that it feels like that type of storytelling technique should be more commonly used, but it's not.
I know Mr. Robot has also been praised for being like
Accurate.
somewhat accurate to the way coding works.
Yeah, where
Yes.
it's not the
Rather
guy
than
who
just
puts on-
random
Yes.
letters and numbers and zeros and ones on a screen.
I'm in.
And you're supposed to understand what's going on.
It's the meme of the guy who's got
The
the,
hacker, he's like,
sunglasses on.
I'm in.
I'm in. The guy who's got the sunglasses on in the coffee shop, but he's dressed like he's in the Matrix, and he's just like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryce E said, "Are any of you gonna play God of War Ragnarok?"
Dane?
I don't plan on
Sure.
it.
Check me out on Twitch. I'll play it there.
There
What
we
if
go.
she did?
It's totally happening, guys.
We find out that she has her own
Confirmed.
like private like she just actually goes on
I'm
Twitch.
actually like a Twitch star.
Yeah.
Millions of viewers. She's like, how do I turn
keeping
it
it a secret.
on?
It's
but
for
you just
me.
haven't done a face reveal yet.
No.
Oh, there's a
Wow.
really funny video where this girl goes, I think I'm going to make myself into a gamer girl. And she does, like, she literally turns herself into an e-girl with makeup, and it's creepy. She goes from looking like a normal human being to looking like an e-thought in, like, less than, like, a 30-second time lapse. It's really scary.
That's a good Halloween costume idea.
e-thought.
Very frightening.
Somebody can go as
Brett, that's the thought.
somebody can go as Amaranth this year and put fake tears on with a phone and just sit
Oh,
there and
no.
be verbally abused by someone.
CGI.
Oh, the video that got
Here.
didn't get us, but it got deleted from TikTok. The only one.
And
Oh.
it got demonetized on YouTube too.
Really?
well.
Yep.
Wow.
Amaranth is out there just like, not on my watch, not on my watch. She's just flagging everyone individually.
Not today, PCC.
Yep.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, grow the beard back and get Halls and the Kid on the show with Hannah Care.
Halls in the care.
Halls and the Care
Halls and
the
crossover episode.
Come on, Jessica. What are you doing other than designing all the merch and graphics?
Yeah, dude. Jessica's one of my favorite people in the world.
She's a big fan of the show too, which
Yeah.
is
It's
really
fantastic.
appreciated.
Love
I'm
that.
going to read one. Steve J says, in real life, taking subs isn't a perfect solution for quickly switching back and forth like that. He's right about that. And the worst thing that can happen is that if you take it long enough, it built like your body doesn't recognize the opiate. So you start getting close to overdosing because the residual Suboxone in your system prevents it from the high from hitting. I was taking my life in my hands on a regular basis. So when I saw that in the show, it's like you understand just how hopeless his life is or how messed up he is because that tethers you to reality in that way, in a unique way.
Damn.
The last of my kind said, Mary, you would just need a reflective vest and to spray paint cart return on the back. Brett, you can go as Lance Bass with your frosted tip.
Yes.
Wow.
I was always
That
more
was
of an
solid.
NSYNC guy than a Backstreet Boys guy. Anyway, so
I can't
you know
wait
what?
until
Let's go.
the
Opinion
brown
on
hair
that.
grows out a little more and
Definitely
it's
Backstreet Boys.
full frosted tips.
It's gonna be let's go.
It's gonna be May.
Or we could
I
meet
like-
when
When hair
April
ends.
ends. You know, I just want to put
Are
that
you
out there.
in sync?
I like NSYNC.
I like Backstreet
Um,
Boys more.
I
Dura.
I
like
don't have
both.
an opinion.
Really?
Durazno Kid says, what drug are you talking about, Brett? For me, it was Dilaudid and Oxycontin, and then mixing that with Suboxone when you would start to go through withdrawal to handle the fact that you're going to be in crippling pain and misery and be throwing up constantly. So it's basically a way to keep
Yikes.
yourself from sane and functioning while you have to go to work and actually live. Not a good life, guys. Avoid all that stuff if you can, please.
Yeah. F off said, Brett, I'm going to add you on Instagram. Check out some of the stuff I did this week. You'll ruin them shorts. And Dane.
All right.
He also mentioned you, Dane.
Okay.
Seems
That's
versatile.
interesting. Dragon Stalin 1001 said, Dane Batman, Brett
Based.
Robin, Mary Catwoman, Hannah Claire Poison Ivy, special cameo on Halloween.
That'd be fun.
Have you seen like it's been a big trend this year to show like costumes for like regular. It's like a conservative guy who's afraid of the city, and it's a spirit Halloween costume bag, and it's just generic costumes for things. Or it's like it's like Blockbuster. There's actually one that's like Blockbuster employee that you can go as for Halloween this year.
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
Yep.
Dash Fortune said, so Elon tweeted out a clip of him walking around Twitter HQ while carrying a sink. I think it's funny as hell. Comments?
I
Carrying a sink.
I love Elon.
How does that
Yeah.
work?
I love Elon. He just
How do you carry a sink?
I don't
Like
know.
one that you fix to a
Yeah.
countertop.
Why? Why?
What is the
What was the
message
joke?
telling you? Like Twitter is sunk.
It's
'cause
going down the
carrying a
drain.
Sink. It's going down the drain. Like there's got to be something at play there.
costume everything but the kitchen sink.
Dude, people.
That seems heavy to carry
maybe.
around as well.
He's got everything and the kitchen sink.
Did you see? Oh, also there was a picture that says Grimes' account has been suspended. It says Elon Musk spent $44 billion to
Just to get back at her-
at
yeah.
Grimes.
People on Twitter, employees, were literally non-ironically,
Oh, yeah.
non-ironically saying, "I don't want this guy to come in because I work pretty much one day a month."
Yeah, they're like, we take mental health months.
Look, I respect the lack of work ethic. You
Yep.
know, like I too would hate to have to do things if I didn't want to do anything and I got paid money to do nothing. You know, like
Many such cases.
a new sheriff in town is hard.
Caver2X said, you can come as the Naked and Afraid cast, peeps.
Okay.
not.
Rather not.
I'll be like a tree on the island then.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, Mary, you would like season 8, episode 3 of Game of Thrones, super dark. I don't just like dark things.
She's like, I'm being pigeonholed.
Also, I've never watched Game of Thrones and I never will.
She's like, why does everyone think I like dark stuff now? This isn't fair. Like you're being unfairly.
You guys don't even know
I'm being unfairly stereotyped.
One of my favorite Mary moments was she was reading the list of things she liked and she didn't like things on it.
Okay, look. It was a list of things that I want to rewatch that includes things I like and things I didn't like.
Never change, Queen.
All right, guys, we're moving on. We're going to talk about Tim Burton, and we're going to talk about James Cameron having choice words about the Marvel franchises. And it says a lot about what it means to be an actual big-name director in a world full of factory line, lower-budget directors that are hired by these studios. So James Cameron slams Marvel and DC characters, says they all act like they're in college. He's kind of right. Like they do all have like a weirdly anachronistic sense of like humor, like that spans no.
Well, it's supposed to be appropriate for all ages in its humor, which means that it infantilizes the adults watching, and then they use bad language, which is inappropriate for the kids watching. So we just end up confused.
Yep.
Like when I watched Thor: Love and Thunder, especially, I was like, is this for children or adults? I'm genuinely confused because you have nudity and cursing, but you also have like screaming goats, rainbows, sparkles, like it was, and like infantile, juvenile humor.
Yeah.
So like, who is this for? I'm genuinely confused.
So he says the Titanic director, age 68, discussed the evolution of cinema in a new interview, noting how comic book characters lack depth. Quote, when I look at these big, spectacular films, I'm looking at you, Marvel and DC. It doesn't matter how old the characters are, they all act like they're in college. They have relationships, but they really don't, says the Avatar director. They never hang up their spurs because of their kids. That's an interesting concept, right? They're outside the realm of actual human consequences. So when you try to give them human consequences or relationships, it always falls flat because the money gun's broken. See, I fit that in there. It went
Love
to
it.
Like it never feels like there's
Maybe
any
the money
stakes.
gun's just excited. Maybe it's like really feeling
I
this
love
topic.
it. I love James Cameron. Like the money guns. Like I love Avatar. That's my favorite movie. But it feels like there's no actual. We talk about how death means nothing in these movies, but also the lack of consequences for. I mean, it's an old trope, right? It's an old trope in military dramas. It's an old trope and stuff like this where they want you to give up and come back to your family, but they're addicted to the life, either to the purpose or to the adrenaline of the work they do, right? So they can't quite give it up. And it's one of those things where, to me, like when I see those stories now told in old movies where it's like it would be considered kind of played out now, I'm like, why can't we just go back to a formula that works?
That's why I think a lot of people love The Lord of the Rings so much. Think about that last scene where Sam Gamgee returns home and he sees like the light inside, and he knew that he was expected, and he walks in there and it's like actually a tearjerker, and he just says, well, I'm back. Like, and there's no coming home and a real ending to a hero's journey for a Marvel superhero, because as we've addressed before, they don't like portraying nuclear families or you know, even the power that death carries, because there's no permanence to death in the MCU. And
Hawkman
this
got
is
to
something
come
that
back to
James
his-
Cameron said in response to, like, how has having children changed the way that you tell stories?
Yeah.
And I can't imagine there are a lot of family men or women in writers' rooms for Marvel movies or shows.
Yeah. In the comics, you see more. Like the Bat family is a thing, but it's told in this fantastic world where they're all superheroes and kid superheroes and stuff like that, right? It is an interesting concept to explore. Hawkeye has the family at home that he's always trying to get back to. They did that in the Hawkeye series where his the whole episode takes place, or the whole season takes place over 6 episodes, and it's about him trying to make it home in time for Christmas. And I was like, when we were watching it, I'm like, if he doesn't make it home for Christmas, I am going to literally find a number and call and complain. I don't care how long it takes.
I remember you took specific notice of the way Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness was like, the motherhood was central to her character and what she valued was primarily her children, and she would go to any lengths to be with them and protect them.
Yeah.
And
or more likely to protect what she believed it what
sure, or
yeah.
what it meant for
Thank
you
you.
know, her future. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. That was Chris just super chatted to test the money guns.
So even when they portray a mother who's who loves her children, they have to make it a twisted story that has like a negative twist that
Yeah.
also doesn't involve a father.
And that's like to me, it's
And
like,
in Disney, actually Kanye West was just talking about this in a conversation with Lex Friedman. He said, and seems rather far-fetched, as a lot of things Kanye says, but like hear him out just with the way he talks about Disney. He says, like, first they show you Bambi's mom dies, and then they like extrapolate that pain, and it something. Watching stories like that where children are ripped from their parents or parents are ripped apart, it stays with kids as they grow up, and that pain is like, it's something that they carry through life. The stories you're first introduced to, the relationships that you see in the stories that you're first watching as a kid are definitely something that you carry with you and that you use to interpret things later on in life.
it's it feels like are they going to do live action Bambi? Think they ever do live action
Please
Bambi?
no.
No?
How would
Nobody's
you do
interested in
that?
live action Bambi?
No one's interested in live action Lion King.
No.
I don't know why they did live action Dumbo, which we'll get to with Tim
Yeah.
Burton's comments about
I
Disney.
feel like Disney doesn't get what people liked about the animated animals, right? It's not that they
Right.
are animals; it's that they're animated and therefore appear more human in
They're
some ways. Their eyes
expressive,
are bigger.
yeah.
They look so cute. You
Was
know?
it it was one of the first times in a long time I'd been to a theater, and when he's falling off the cliff, I was laughing because it
Right.
looked so ridiculous. It made no sense.
It's like, no, Scar,
Yeah.
please help me.
No.
No.
So yeah, he
Just
says
the beady little eyes.
yeah.
I don't understand why they think that would work.
By the way, this week has been A+ because of all the people clowning on Lex Friedman.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dane, thoughts on Lex Friedman?
Well, thoughts on that Kanye interview specifically, please.
Let us know.
I feel like that's a whole other segment.
Just a
you guys could
little
do.
tangent as a treat.
Little tangent as a treat. I think they were both really trying. I don't get how. I don't know their relationship, but there's a point in the interview where Lex is like, "You need to trust someone," and Kanye's like, "I don't trust you," in a more colorful and expressive way, and Lex, it just puts Lex in the fritz, and he's like, "No one's ever told me that before." Like, and then Kanye's like, "We should work there." It's like, "I only work with people that explicitly trust me." It's like, what the hell, dude? Like, how can you expect that of people? I don't know. Maybe,
Someone who just met you. That's
I don't know if
strange.
they've just met because they kind of talk like buddies in the beginning, but you know.
Probably had just met though.
Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't expect somebody to trust you after just meeting them. That makes no sense. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Tim
I
Burton.
just find him odd.
Let's talk about Tim Burton because you used Disney as a core example there because you mentioned Kanye and how they get you early.
And now that Disney and Marvel are one beast,
Yeah.
Siamese twins, if you will, stitched together in a Frankenstein fashion.
With Star Wars and
Yeah,
and Pixar and all the stuff they
I
own.
found Burton's comments to Deadline interesting. He said, "My history is that I started out there at Disney. I was hired and fired several times throughout my career there. The thing about Dumbo, the live action Dumbo, is that's why I think my days with Disney are done. I realized that I was Dumbo and that I was working in this horrible big circus that I needed to escape. That movie is quite autobiographical at a certain level."
Such an art nerd thing to say. But he's not 100% wrong. Like the big thing here is like we talk about how they like to get smaller directors that they can control because a bigger name director like a Tim Burton or a James Cameron would have far too much pull in the ability to make changes to what they want, and they want control of everything that comes out of their production houses. I'm still shocked that they had Sam Raimi make Multiverse of Madness, but even that they said that there was a ton of changes in there that were made that he had to kind of give in on. At a certain point, the studio is so big that there's only a few directors that would be given more leeway. Like a Christopher Nolan can go in wherever he wants and just do whatever he wants most of the time because he makes the money. But like with these directors, I don't blame them. Like you go in there, there's adverse office politics a la Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and all of the mistakes that are made in the production line there. And then you just have the fact that it's a homogenous type of content with very little room for actually creatively driven directors who want to create something that is outside of the typical scale, right? So he's got his unique vision for what these movies should be, and maybe 10, 20 years ago that would have been allowed. It wouldn't be allowed now.
Yeah. Here were Burton's comments about the ways Disney has changed in recent years, and also comparing Disney movies to Marvel movies. It's gotten to be very homogenized, consolidated. There's less room for different types of things. He added that he would never do a Marvel superhero movie. I can only deal with one universe. I can't deal with a multiverse.
Yep. Like he's like, I can only go like one at a time, please.
I sympathize with that.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the Marvel actors acting like not children, but like college age people, I wonder how much. I speculate how much of that is Robert Downey Jr.'s acting, because he is kind of this like hyper charismatic, likable. It's sort of like 21st century alpha.
He's like the big man on campus kind of energy.
Yeah, he's
So
like Van Wilder energy.
They wrote it to fit him in Iron Man, and then it just kind of stuck for all of them.
Deadpool for sure too.
Yeah.
They want to have his magic, you know. They want to have his like je ne sais quoi or whatever, however the hell French people say it. But they just can't, you know. Like they'll never have it again.
And then I mean, it should be tailored and adapt to each actor, right? But it doesn't.
Yes.
All the humor fits. Could be every joke could be said by someone else, and it would all fit into. That's not real. That's not realistic to the real world. The funny thing is, in a real multiverse, it would make sense if all the shows felt completely different because the world is viewed differently based on the outside of whose eyes you're seeing it through.
Yeah.
But since storytelling is not the same thing as living in the actual world, you still need some type of emotional through line or tonal through line. That's why She-Hulk failed in a lot of ways. They tried to do a tone that was antithetical to their previous model and then wondered why it didn't work because nobody was told that this is what it's supposed to be. There was a really good, I don't think it was Chris Gore, but there was somebody else who did a really good analysis of the pilot of She-Hulk. He says, if you watch it as a Marvel property, it's awful. If you watch it as a weird sitcom, it's passable. But nobody's really told, like,
That's
you
not
can't,
what it's sold as.
like, even if it is, like, you can't divorce yourself. Okay, yes, fine, this is a sitcom, but it features Hulk, who has been featured in a bunch of stuff that isn't sitcoms, has been featured with Daredevil, who's been in stuff that's literally the opposite of sitcoms.
You couldn't get farther.
Yeah, you don't
from a
get to
sitcom.
just drop them in there and expect the tone to just meld perfectly. That makes no sense.
I mean, maybe that's why people wanted the Daredevil cameo, for instance, is just seeing him in a context they haven't seen him before.
Ugh.
But novelty isn't in itself something valuable. Like,
No.
there needs to be some extrapolation of the character.
I'm also over Easter eggs, like you said.
And Brett,
Hate Easter eggs.
to your point, there really is no small role. There's small actors, and I like what you said that, you know, they kind of should have They should have gone on the person for the role essentially. Yep. And sorry for making a Game of Thrones reference because I know you didn't watch the show, but I'm sure the chat did. And there was a moment in the show where Hodor, they show it's a very small scene or a small succession of scenes where it's a very minor actor playing the young version of a character, and that kid absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I think it's the best scene in the whole show.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that there are actors that no matter how small a role you give them, like, they steal the scene because they are just that talented.
Did
like,
you see that scene? Do
It's,
you know
it's
what I'm
why
talking about?
are you talking about where they kind of explain Hodor?
Yeah, Hodor, the
I
kid's,
have
like,
seen
freaking
that.
out.
I haven't really seen Game of Thrones, but I do know that whole, like, I've seen that whole thing.
Yeah.
And, like, very, very solid. I also think that, like, it's why not everyone can be an actor,
Right.
even if we pay them to. You know what I mean? Like, there are some people who are just talented at telling stories that way or representing a character. And it's also why I fundamentally believe that there are some actors that get cast and kill shows that are otherwise good. Like when they come on, no matter what makeup or hair or whatever you do, like they just kill. All of the energy dies with them, and it's especially bad when they're major parts, but even when they're minor parts, they're just awkward.
Summer Glau is seen that way. She's poison for television shows. She shows up and your show is about to take a nosedive. She was in
Summer what?
Summer Glau. She was in Firefly. I don't think she's acting as much these days, but she's
Gee, I wonder why.
yeah, well, there's
She's a smoke show though.
I mean, what's her name from Grey's Anatomy, but that was more because she was bad to work with.
I've never seen her before.
Kathy.
I don't know. I've never seen Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my god,
I know we've talked about her
it's the worst show ever.
What's her name?
I just keep thinking like
it's a very woman-oriented show.
It's about doctors that can't stop having sex with each other.
Yeah. Also,
and their
there's like a
patients die as a
shooting at the
result.
hospital every couple like years when they need to shake it up.
The
like,
Grey's Anatomy cast is so incestuous that they've like created some kind of mutant STD.
Johnny Dirt mentions Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is one of the shows that Summer Glau is in. I've heard very good shows that would be good to put on the list of like shows that only got one season that absolutely deserved more. Like that was like the actual spiritual successor to Terminator, not the movies after 2. Yeah, that's Katherine Heigl. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Stan. That's Katherine Heigl. She's the one who she has that personality that just drags shows down when she's casted on it. But Summer Glau is a very good example of that too. They're just they're poison to the cast. They can't help it. Whether it's their energy or whatever it is. But then, like you said, there's actors that do an incredible job who can elevate material. I was watching, like I've been mentioning Bosch. There's a part in season 2. Well, I'm using current examples for this.
I haven't watched. I just think it's funny. Is your Survivor?
There's a scene where Lance Reddick's character, Captain Irving, his son is involved in an officer-involved shooting, and they make this big show of him being brought to the scene to see it because he's a police captain, so he has to be brought to any officer-involved shooting. And the amount of emotion that they pull out of this guy, who is, if you know Lance Reddick as an actor, if you watched him on Fringe or any of the other stuff he does, if you watched him in the John Wick series, he plays a very stoic person all the time. He's got a really deep voice, and he talks like this, and he never shows any emotion. And you see emotion essentially build from when he pulls up to the scene of in the outside of the convenience store, walking into the back of the convenience store, and they track the shot where he's walking in, and basically the distance that he has to cover gets smaller and smaller, and you see emotion build on his face. They keep cutting to these close-ups, and you see emotion build on a face that for multiple seasons and any other role you've seen him in is typically fairly stoic. Mm-hmm. And that type of thing, that's an example where an actor can elevate the material. Like on paper, that sounds very easy to do.
Mm-hmm. Unlike Morphed Clark, where she's expressionless throughout the entire series and then has one singular scene where she is smiling.
Unless, on a horse.
Riding the horse, and then when Sauron takes her back to her childhood scene with her brother, that was the one time I saw her genuinely smile in the show.
But usually,
it has no power to it.
It only takes one. I feel it only takes like one, like absolutely like once in a lifetime performance in Game of Thrones. I think it was Tyrion.
Yep.
Like. Friggin' A, like he knocked it out of the park. And sometimes
he got married.
He got married?
Who's the kid who plays Joffrey got married recently, and he he didn't want famous people at his wedding because he lives like a very normal life.
Based.
Yeah.
And Jon Snow married that girl he was dating.
Also, in the chat, he says that they heard that Summer Glau is actually really nice. I wasn't saying that she was really nice. I'm saying that her acting energy seemed to be poison for shows that she was on.
There are, I think, people who can be talented and who are cast poorly. Like, even if they are nice and they are talented, they are not the fit for the personality or the character or material that they need to pull off. And, like, that is bad. There are just bad actors who get cast in things and you're like, every time it takes me out of the fact that this is actually just like a TV show. Like, it's awkward, but it's not a reflection on their character, unfortunately. It's more common on either the casting or their talent.
The best ensemble, and I haven't found anything nearly as close, is Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is an absolute rock star in
Well,
that
yeah,
show.
and those are legendary. Those are like the best example for actors like that, like a Giancarlo Esposito, or the actors that are in that show, is that, or Aaron Paul even. Like those are actors that are so good that they always lead the shows they're in, but there's so many of them in one show that the stage is constantly filled with, at least on the television level, A-list talent, whereas most shows get one or two A-list talents and then it's filled with supporting characters. That show's all actors that are capable of playing leading roles.
But they were perfect exactly for their role, because I know Walter White's wife, she gets a bunch of slack for being obnoxious in the show. But man, when you think of her, the character, and the situation she was in, like, wouldn't you be like that?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, that's how she's supposed to be.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like, wouldn't you be like that? Wouldn't you be like, freaking A, like, I'm with the Godfather. Like, what the hell's going on?
And then poor Bryan Cranston has just had like swing and a miss after that. Like he did the Godzilla movie, died in like 5 minutes in the Godzilla movie, and they're making.
I saw him on Broadway in I can't remember what it was called, but like
he was in Trumbo too.
he was like good. He's so talented, but also like the production was awkward.
Yeah.
And there were some other actors similar, like where I was like, your casting is weird. I don't know if I agree with this. I don't remember, but it was a stage adaptation of, I know it's a movie where like he's like a news anchor who announces he's gonna like off himself on TV, and like then they just keep broadcasting for it because it gets more and more out of hand. It's a movie. I just don't know what it is.
Laura Germain, is it German or Germain? Is another person who was like that until she got the role in Lucifer, where that show got a bunch of seasons. But even that one got canceled on network TV and then got luckily picked up by Netflix. But she would go on a bunch of shows and then like they would just be like mysteriously die.
That show made me cringe, like those
What?
TikTok videos
Lucifer?
that you showed me. I really don't like it, dude.
The marketing was cringe too.
I love Lucifer
Because it was like how Lucifer had like a soft spot for this chick, and I was like, what
does.
the hell's going on?
There's a. We'll get that's for another time. It's for another time.
When
ladies
we
and
start
gentlemen.
seeing Bryan Cranston in the press again, you'll know that it's time for the Malcolm in the Middle reboot.
That's coming up.
series.
They're working on that.
No, wait,
They're working-
really?
Yeah, they're working on that.
It
right?
is-
It's-
Why
It
would you
is-
do that? That's so
is it a reboot or
annoying.
is it a reboot or are they like?
It's a reboot.
Okay, yeah.
I would be okay with like a one-off specialty cast reunion episode, but like let's not do a full reboot. Like that show was good as
I
it
think
was.
it's a member of the original cast that is writing it.
What if they sell meth?
No.
Meth in
What
the
if it
middle.
was Malcolm in the Middle, except Malcolm is a meth dealer?
Yeah,
Jesse.
Malcolm the middleman.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
let's go.
You're a genius, Brett.
Thank you.
Caper Tuck said Mary as Wednesday Addams and the rest as ... Yeah, I mean,
would you go
none
as
of these
Wednesday?
people want to dress up for Halloween. They're not fun.
Sorry, you never threw a staff Halloween party. That's what you need to do for the rest of the week. Campaign, and everyone will come in on
Yes.
costume.
32.
Really?
I am.
You
I
can't
am
have fun
32.
anymore because you're 32?
I know I have my
No,
child.
he just has to wear costumes at appropriate venues. You know, it's like Disney bounding. Like you can't just dress up in costumes and go to Disney World.
The
No.
appropriate venue is the Pop Culture Studio on Monday.
I know I have my boyish good looks, but
Actually, Halloween costumes are a good way to gauge just how disconnected a lot of like normies are from like outrage culture. Like I have I have like my Instagram will be filled with like girls who are definitely wearing costumes that they should not be wearing because of cultural appropriation. Like I definitely saw some Princess Jasmine costumes where there would be at least one insufferable SJW who would tell them that they shouldn't be wearing that costume because
You saw a bizarre post of a husband and wife and their baby where the wife was sexy Buzz Lightyear.
and the
baby was
Woody.
Woody, and the husband was the alien, like the weird alien characters from
the
Toy
Claw?
Story, the little
Your baby should be the alien.
right,
first.
exactly.
Who-
And then the husband,
Who does this
Can
stuff?
be like a Western cowboy. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't really understand how we make Buzz Lightyear sexy, but like okay.
she was literally in like underwear that was like Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, it was-
Brett, just give me a Minnesota hat and I'll give you this jacket.
okay.
We'll do that.
Come on, guys, buy it a little bit more.
Someone named Christopher Poole sent $2 without a message.
My guess
Thank
is
you.
thank you, Chris.
I bet he fired Chris Bertman. No, I'm just kidding, Chris.
There can only be one.
The other Chris. We have so many Chris's working for this company. It's getting
Yes.
crazy. Chris Bertman, you're not fired. I promise.
Waffle Sensei said, "Happy partying, friends."
Thanks,
Thank
bro.
you.
Thank you.
The Last of My Kind said Bat family dynamics can be seen best in Young Justice when Robin is going through psychiatric counseling. It's really heart-wrenching to see him talk.
Yeah, that's like, imagine being the family of Batman, like Bruce Wayne's family, and having to be raised in that environment. It's incredible. Also, we're going to be getting into James Gunn here, and if there's one thing that they need to leave alone with the new leadership at Warner Brothers, you're going to keep screwing up the movies. I've accepted that. Like the chances of you actually developing like a solid, cohesive, like cinematic universe are about that of like something very, very low, right? But the animated movies, you can make the animated movies well. You've proven that time and time again. Don't screw that up. Keep making the animated movies.
You're
good.
daring them, Brett.
Yes, I am.
Rachel Elizabeth said, the daughter, Brianna in Outlander, as much as I like her character, the actress is just awful and ruins it every time.
I'd have to look her up. I don't know who that is. I didn't watch Outlander.
I've seen some of Outlander, but like you guys can all name this like you're having a good show and then someone comes on and you're like, why did you get this role? You seem so awkward.
Now I'm curious. I need to know.
That's how Brett feels about me when Ian's on. He's like, ugh.
I don't believe that. I've heard big things about your show.
You're emotionally scarred forever, aren't you, Dane?
What
Sophie Skelton. She plays Brianna Randall Fraser.
Ian was called the main guest host.
It was
when Dane was second guest on the show one day.
It was just a funny moment.
Brett
honestly.
knew that he made a mistake, but
soon as
he
I
only
said it.
addressed it later on in the show and was like,
Wow,
I'm
Brett.
sorry.
Like
Brett has no respect.
I literally brought it up later. I'm like, so like, you remember
Out
like
of the
2 hours?
blue.
Like, remember 2 hours ago when I just randomly made this really awkward mistake? I don't like to leave it alone.
I didn't even think you noticed it, so I was like, I'm just going to mention it after.
No,
Emotional damage.
Emotional damage. All right, guys, we're moving on to Podluck, and this is a big announcement. So I'm gonna. We won't spend a ton of time on this, but it's very big news, which is that James Gunn and Peter Safran have been tapped to lead DC films and animation. That is a very big deal because out of all the people they could get for their Kevin Feige, the dude who makes really, really like crude humor isn't the guy I would have tapped for it.
Which one's crude humor?
James Gunn. James Gunn is absolutely crude
Because
humor.
he got in trouble for all. I was gonna say, like, look at this guy really rising from the ashes.
He is. He is. And they just released the trailer for the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special right as they made this announcement. So it was like DC spiting Marvel.
Do you think it's a good idea to have a duo replace the role of one person? Because it seems like they could have a rivalry that isn't helpful.
The idea here is that James Gunn would be the creative mind, be the head of the creative side of it, and Peter Safran would be the head of the executive side of it, the more business-oriented side of it. The strange thing about this is, though, guys, is that they're going to be allowed to work on projects outside of DC. That makes no sense. And that the contracts look to be for about 4 years. That makes no sense.
4 years is the development of one film.
For
Maybe
a
it's
DC,
because they're just like they're trying it out. Maybe one of them will ultimately get to stay and the other one will be out. Like it's a demo period, you know?
Peter
They're
Safran,
beta testing this.
Peter Safran, from what I understand, is a very successful horror or like Poltergeist films or like Annabelle or something like that. He does a bunch of like that genre, and he built. The Conjuring universe. He built out like all the movies that come out in the Conjuring franchise. So he has history there. And James Gunn is a unique option. He was able to bring back bring obscure characters like Guardians of the Galaxy that nobody cared about and make people care about them. There's no arguing that he is a creatively gifted storyteller. I do believe that the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn Suicide Squad sequel, is the best of the DC movies.
Well, Safran was also involved in the
production
movie.
of that. And Peacemaker, outside of the weird climate change activism at the end, was genuinely a show that I enjoyed. I think James Gunn is talented. Do I see him as a studio executive? I don't know about that.
Do you like
But
him more than
maybe
the Batman movie?
What? Yes, I don't. I didn't like the Batman movie.
Oh man, I liked it.
Too long.
But maybe that's
was
why
too
they
long.
paired him up with this guy. They're like, we want the things that Jim Gunn makes, but we don't believe he can actually get it done. So we got to bring in Peter. And they're like, that sounds good. We like this partnership.
So basically the idea here is that they've already got stuff planned out that's coming out through Aquaman Fallen Kingdom, which I believe is the start of next year. 2023, at the end of 2023, right? So, and then after that, he's got basically 3 years to make something happen. And I don't know what.
How are you going to build out a scheduled slate of the films that are coming out to do like remedial work for DC to catch up with Marvel in that short period of time?
Yep. There isn't a.
It's not a presidency.
Nope.
But like Marvel's clearly, at least in quality, going super down the drain.
Yeah.
They're at the C-D level superheroes now, so I don't think it'll be that hard for DC to catch up if they take their A-listers super seriously.
So it says Safran came up as a manager where Gunn was among his clients and is fully enmeshed. Is that a word? Enmeshed?
Enmeshed.
Yes.
Enmeshed? Okay, cool. And I'm sure the writer just felt a ray of like coolness on him as he wrote that, I'm sure. In the world of DC,
It's that weird of a word.
as a producer of the $1 billion grossing Aquaman and its upcoming sequel, as well as Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and Shazam. Again, I would put Shazam up there with the Suicide Squad. Obviously, tonally, almost completely the opposite of the Suicide Squad sequel, but I loved Shazam as well, as much as you can love these movies. His relationship with Warner extends back 10 years and includes $2 billion Conjuring franchise. That's a horror movie. The Safran company recently re-upped its production deal with Warner's. It's interesting because my biggest fear was they were going to give it to J.J. Abrams. They were like, we gave you your $250 million deal that you did literally nothing with. Why don't we give you the head of the studio? Because Hollywood's fantastic at failing upwards. Like Hollywood loves to have people fail upwards, like your movie that nobody saw. Here's a Star Wars movie. Your indie film that nobody gave a crap about. Here's a Marvel movie.
This is genuinely impressive. Black Adam is still a 90% audience score with 5,000 plus verified ratings.
It's not going down. If it was going to go down, it would have gone down by now.
Damn.
And here's that word that I was using earlier, and I'm glad that they said this. We're honored to be the stewards of these DC characters we've loved since we were children, Gunn and Safran said in a statement. We look forward to collaborating with the most talented writers, directors, and actors in the world to create an integrated, multi-layered universe that still allows for individual expression of the artists involved. He's getting into corporate speak there.
Yeah.
I was expecting to hear synergy at any moment there.
Do you think it's interesting? Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think it's interesting they're saying, like, these are characters we've loved since we were children, but children of today don't have their own characters to fall in love with. Like,
they do.
Just have
they're just not in
recycled
movies.
character.
There's new characters created all the time. They're just not in the movies and the TV shows.
The kids don't care about those characters, do they?
Yeah.
They're poorly
like,
written.
When are you going to make a movie about my favorite streamer, huh?
I mean, there's a reason that the A-listers of the DCEU have become the A-list characters.
Yep.
I don't think that the new ones are up to par.
Also, it's funny how this kind of does, one of the other videos that I was watching says, this kind of proves that like everybody that was quote unquote canceled, other than the ones that went to jail, are pretty much fine.
Yeah.
Like, Louis C.K.'s making money on his own. He just sold out Madison Square Garden.
Everyone comes back from these things.
Did Roseanne ever come back? What the hell happened to Roseanne?
I don't know.
Canceled.
I thought she had some deal with Fox or Newsmax for a minute, but I could be wrong.
I
don't follow her career too intensely, I have to say.
I always get her and Rosie O'Donnell mixed up.
I get her
do too.
and
And they're very different.
Yes, they are.
oh, who was Paula Deen. I mix up Roseanne with Paula Deen because they both said like controversial things.
Yep. So we've got all this, and then remember, 4 years on the contract. I don't know if that's enough time to do anything. Ezra Miller could have assaulted many a woman and burned down many like a karaoke bar in that time. So they've got to be very, very careful. If
He
they keep
doesn't
him
even
around.
need a month.
Yeah.
That's like one weekend for him.
Okay, so this is I wanted to read this part. It says DC currently only has the movies that are finished under the former head of DC Films, Walter Hamada, that are set to release. So that's December of 2023. Which is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which is March 17th. The Flash, which is June 23rd. Blue Beetle, which is still on the schedule, which is August 18th. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is December 25th, 2023. That's where their slate is up through. Patty Jenkins finished the script on Wonder Woman, but that movie's a couple years out, probably at least. So that means that Gunn and Safran will have less than 3 years to release movies from December 2023 to November 2026, and whatever they may have planned for TV, though it should be said that previously it has been reported that David Zaslav favors movies and theatrical releases instead of streaming. I don't want a bunch of stupid shows that I have to watch to remain in continuity. If they make them and they're independent and separate, fine. I'm fine with that.
Like the Rogues Gallery you want
Yeah,
in TV shows.
I just don't like when they list off all these things that are coming, and then this guy, and then this guy.
But it's all empty promises.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, oh, God, just can we detox from a freaking superhero?
You'd think. Like I said, I take great joy now watching literally anything but that. Like, The Peripheral is not even something I would normally like. I went back and started rewatching Travelers on Netflix, which is kind of in the same vein of time travel in science fiction. I'm not a big science fiction guy, but I just don't care about... like, the only superhero stuff I want to watch is animated right now. I don't want to be watching the live action stuff. We're going to see Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So,
are you looking forward to X-Men 97 then?
Not really. I wasn't a big.
Animated?
I wasn't a big. But I'm a DC animated fan. I wasn't a huge Marvel.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of people in the chat that love their Wolverine and love their Rogue and their Storm. It's just it wasn't my thing. So we'll see where it goes. It will be interesting to see if he can find a way to temper his humor in these projects. Right. He has to understand where his humor fits and understand that it doesn't fit with all characters. James Gunn's sense of humor works.
How does it come out? I mean, I know he has a crude sense of humor, but like you can do a lot of things to.
There's a lot of crude humor in the Suicide Squad, for instance, that is tempered by the fact that there's a lot of genuinely emotional scenes that are then like given levity through crude humor. And I know that sounds.
I don't
annoying.
remember genuinely emotional scenes in Suicide Squad.
There's a couple
when I watched it.
Anything with Ratcatcher, with what's her name, the girl character that was great. Everything that she was in was great. Or the stuff with Bloodsport and Bloodshot and his kid, or Bloodsport and his kid. There's good stuff in there, and James Gunn can do that. I'm not a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan, but a lot of people love the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. It is what it is. But he's going to need to understand that his humor will work with some characters, but not with other characters. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need to see that type of humor with Batman. I don't need to see that type. Thank you.
I hate that the humor is pressured at all.
Yeah.
Why is there the expectation that we have to make everything?
Yeah.
That's what ruined the Clooney Batman.
Well, to be honest, though, but with Gunn, it feels like that's his style. With Marvel, it feels like that's Marvel's style. If it works for him and it's one director kind of shepherding that forward with all the projects, I don't think that works. But if it's just his movies, that's fine.
Yeah, I just think like
shoehorning
humor into all superhero films when it may not fit the tone is kind of juvenile and infantilizes the audience.
Yeah.
The way I think you could do it is that as long as you keep the spirit of the character, you can integrate humor. For example, if you're going to do Batman, it has to be dry humor. It can't be like slapstick, like, oh, I just slipped on a banana peel. Like that.
They do that good in the animated movies. His humor, yeah. Yep.
Because he's like debonair, and it's like, oh, he's so clever.
Yeah. Johnny Derp says, why is humor the expectation? Joss Whedon. Yes, Joss Whedon ruined everything. He did. We should,
that guy.
You know, I don't support canceling, but, he's awful. So
We just have to all go to therapy and unpack the influence of
Joss Whedon
Yeah.
on everything. Well, a lot of people pointed out that it's not Joss Whedon necessarily. It was Kevin Smith that had that sense of humor and the pop culture references before he even did. So blame Kevin Smith, too, because you could tell him he was just going to cry because that's all Kevin Smith does now is cry, 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 cry.
Someone take that clip and then edit it so Brett is saying Jordan Peterson.
True. Because that is all he does lately.
No, leave Jordan Peterson alone. We love Jordan Peterson here.
Clean your room, Jordan Peterson.
All right, guys. I wanted to Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal. Did you ever think you'd hear that in like a 2022 show about
The
anything recent?
70-year-old
Steven
actor.
Seagal
I'm down.
could face U.S. sanctions over his support of Russia.
What?
Yes, this is a real headline. Steven Seagal could face U.S. government sanctions for, quote, perpetuating Russia's genocidal war in Ukraine. The 70-year-old actor, who was one of 6 recommended to be put under sanctions for his support of Russia's military actions in Ukraine for his approval of President Vladimir Putin's aggressive occupation policy. Didn't he make like a bunch of like Russian propaganda movies, if I remember correctly? Where like he got hired by Russia to do like a bunch of like Russian military propaganda movies, or maybe it was
He's
Chinese
a dual citizen of Russia and the U.S.
Yeah,
So that would make sense.
yeah. He holds U.S. citizenship by birthright, but and was made a Serbian citizen in 2016. He's a spy. He's probably a spy.
I mean, he's not doing a great job of hiding it.
Yeah,
is he?
it's reverse. Like it's like
He
the
like
double
wants to be recruited, but he can't be.
he keeps going. Yeah,
He's
he
too
keeps
high
going
profile.
over
They're
there.
like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we can't recruit you. Okay.
It's a double bluff. He's he's pretending to not be a spy by pretending to be a spy.
Imagine a 2022 Seagal movie.
I think he's still making
Russia doesn't
stuff.
have to. They have them.
So it says others named in the list were a bunch of people that I've never heard of. But have you guys thought of Steven Seagal in any period of time?
What does he do?
Usually it's the butt of jokes.
Yes, or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
What was he
That would
in?
be awesome.
I know he's like a name, but I don't.
Seagal?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Everything from the 80s.
He's in the movies they play in Kmart when you're in the food court.
Putin has a favorite
Best I
pastime.
can do.
Former politicians, famous actors, musicians to involve in his propaganda. He gives a lot of money, and for this he asks to promote his narratives or put these famous people in high positions in state-owned companies in Russia. Is it true that that Vladimir Putin is the richest man in the world? I've heard that before.
Vladimir Putin?
I've heard that
Well, this tweet is saying that the richest man in Russia is Vladimir Linson.
I heard like a
Well, who's the richest man in the world then?
I don't know.
I mean, if you're
Wasn't
really
it
that
AIDS?
wealthy, you're hiding
Elon?
it, right? You don't want to be like all those lists of like these are the 50
Yeah.
wealthiest people in the world. Like, no,
Is
those are the
someone-
ones who are being open about their wealth. Who have
Is
no
someone
hide it.
above Elon then?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. I could suspect, but it's hard to beat the Elon money.
With 2 more years of pop culture crisis, when these
Yeah,
money
my
guns, it'll be
guess.
Brett Dasovic.
Yes,
Yeah.
come on, Vlad. Sign me up. I'll be a Russian spy.
Clip that as well.
Yeah, come on, Vlad.
I'm just ruining your reputation today.
Love it.
Yep. Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. It's very kind. All right, guys.
Fake news. Brett hates Jordan Peterson,
And he's a Russian spy.
and he's a Russian spy.
And I'm just like, I
Brett
would,
is a Scientology stan. That's what I found
Yes,
offensive.
and
I am-
also a Scientologist.
like it's like one day I'm just like Danny Masterson did nothing wrong.
clip that. Clip that
right
right now.
You know how to meme. You know how to clip these things.
His
Come on,
new
next
nick-
meme review is just going to be a character assassination of Brett.
Except
Not
the Scientology thing is real. He's defended Scientology to me on.
I have
Yeah,
never
because
done
he's
that.
a Tom Cruise super
I have
fan.
defended-
That
He
is
can do
true.
no wrong.
I've
That's true.
defended Tom
Love it.
Cruise. I have not defended Scientology.
I went to one
Clip
meeting.
that so he doesn't say not. Say I have defended Scientology.
It's like, you know, like I justify one person getting stalked by a bunch of Scientology people, and suddenly you get a label. What is this?
Okay, Fed Civic.
I love this.
All right. Thank you, guys, everyone. You're making my day. Mary, tell us about David Dobrik.
David Dobrik, he is going on another business venture of his many ones, and it's a pizzeria named Dobrik's.
Get it?
It's a great name.
Get it?
What
you
was
get
the
it?
What was the name of the Mr. Beast, like the Mr. Beast food that you can eat? Not
Mr.
Beast.
Are
Not
they
Beast
Beast
burgers.
Burgers?
No, not
What do you
that. He had
mean?
like there was a clip the
Got
other
like a
day
candy
of
thing now too.
yeah,
right?
it's the candy thing. There was a clip
I
the other
want
day
him to
of,
come on Pop Culture Crisis.
yeah.
Yes, Mr. Beast.
There was a clip the other day of Andrew Schultz because he's like on like a diet right now, and he's like doing like a competition with a friend to see who can lose the most weight this month or something.
He's so
and
skinny.
like he's getting tempted by
Toxic diet
Mr.
culture.
Beast, like putting out like the Beastables or something like that.
Beastable?
They're his
like-
Lunchable equivalent.
It's like it's some type
What?
of food. Oh, also, did you guys see
We'll
that
have to look
he
into this.
he had like Andrew Schultz had like a really weird meltdown after Kanye, where he made a bunch of jokes, but they were not so much funny as just like really really mean spirited.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he is
I'll check
quite a
that
panda
out.
bear.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Weird.
I don't really keep up with him.
So David Dobrik actually created Dispo, which is an app, a social media app that you can like take pictures and then they digitally develop overnight and show up the next day. You don't know what you took a picture of, and it seems like a very incriminating app. But it sort of is like Be Real before Be Real existed. And if you don't know what Be Real is, it notifies you to take a picture of your front-facing and back-facing camera at some random point in the day. And it's supposed to combat like the fake manicured, curated nature of social media today.
And you have to do it to be able to see like your friends'
Yeah.
reels and everything.
interesting.
Terrifying.
What does he mean? Like, what do you mean you like take a picture and you don't know?
like you take the pictures. It's supposed to be like you're at a party and you take a bunch of pictures on Dispo, and then
Okay.
you post them to Dispo without seeing them first, and then you get them to develop, quote unquote, the next day, like a disposable camera,
Right, or like a Polaroid.
or like a Polaroid would do. But it just seems
Well,
like
it's just like you're walking around with your phone being like, I'm taking pictures, and you don't know.
yeah, it just seems like a way to get people angry at you the next day for
I love
taking pictures of them in incriminating situations.
I love that the key to being novel is to make technology worse.
Well, it's like Snapchat, right? Like with the streaks, like all of the teens are really into Snapchat because there's that like, I need to check it every day to keep my streaks alive. Like this marketing guy I talked about was like, teenagers who get grounded from their cell phones will like give each other their passwords to keep their streaks going.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so that's why Be Real and Dispo have that similar, like you have to check in every day to sort of be up to date or to keep this going.
Damn, that's like login bonuses for capture games. That
Yeah.
a lot of governments have, they're cracking down on that because it's literally addictive. And
Yeah.
ruining their youth.
And there was an unspoken rule like that with something like TikTok where you have to post every day for the algorithm to favor you.
Yeah.
But with these other apps, it's built in. It's a built-in feature. Anyway, Dobrik's Pizza is going to be a brick and mortar restaurant, but I thought at first that it was going to be a ghost kitchen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because Mr. Beast Burger obviously is not somewhere you can go and sit down and have a Mr. Beast Burger, just like the Squid Game restaurants that existed.
Mark Wahlberg has his own burger joint as well.
That's a real one.
Yeah.
Well, and there are like a bunch of country artists who own big restaurants like on the main strip in Nashville.
And and the big thing is wine and like whiskey companies now. For I started.
Quavo.
Yeah. Stephen Amell has a wine company. I've been following him. He is a gloriously positive person on social media. It's almost obscene how positive he is. Like he does a thing where like after he makes a reel, he goes to the camera, and it's just like, really, dude? Like you must be a monster behind like when the camera's off, because like nobody's actually that nice.
It's awfully suspicious.
So how many locations is he opening? Just starting one, or is he starting? a bunch?
We only know about one. There's only going to be one starting
Dobrik's
off,
Pizza.
but I just see legal problems in the future for this.
For Dobrik.
Something about David Dobrik. It's just like litigation follows him everywhere he goes because he always wants to push people's comfort zones in possibly illegal ways. Like,
See,
you
I
know
feel
what I
like
mean?
it's more like, I want to be a restaurant owner, and then it's gonna be like health codes and like other things. So you'd be like, I didn't want to do this much work. I just thought this name was funny.
Well,
like,
a lot of athletes end up trying to start like sports bars or bars after
It's like
they
a
retire,
meme, but then you
yeah.
get down to
Or
the actual
nightclubs.
work it takes
They're
to
like,
create
"It's
something
so
like
much
that.
work.
And
Inventory is so hard. I don't
Like,
wanna do
yeah.
it."
someone's
It likely
gonna get
won't
like scalded
last.
by hot pizza oil, and he's gonna be like, it's so funny, and they're gonna sue him. He's gonna be like,
exactly,
wait.
exactly.
Yep.
You should make
That's
a
how it
communist pillow company.
Harvey Weinstein can start a couch company. Like
And
that.
then team up with Mike Lindell.
Yes, the Harvey Weinstein couch company and the Mike Lindell pillow company team up together.
Can't wait.
I was actually talking to, like, I know how society is, like how we have it too easy, that geocaching is a thing. I was thinking about this the other day because I was watching like a geocaching video. You know what that is?
Where you like
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
locations and get like the trinkets.
Whenever people
Seems kind of scary though, because someone could just be like waiting there.
whenever people talk about how like hard we have it in society these days, I'm like, yeah, but there's people who go like fake treasure hunting. So is it really?
There are escape rooms.
See, I like geocaching better
I
than
love
like
escape rooms.
I'm on
You
the
do?
internet like playing virtual games for 100 hours. Like,
Well,
at
that's
least
the
you're
thing,
in
like,
the real world.
Your life is like not that difficult if like you literally go to not get
Dane,
real treasure.
why do you like escape rooms?
They're like
I don't have a
puzzles.
high opinion of them.
They're like puzzles. They're fun.
I've only
Are they
done-
like very lowest common denominator oriented though?
Last one.
One
I
of
couldn't
them's just the doors actually unlocked. And you
Last
just
one,
don't
I
think
died
to
in
check.
there. I couldn't get out.
Yeah, I've seen
Oh,
some cool. Heard
where
of
are
some
you
cool
now?
ones.
I mean, dead. No, because the whole idea is like you gotta get out in a certain amount of time, and we were in this room with
To win a prize? Is there like the incentive there?
I mean, the
or just the
like-
joy of knowing you solved the puzzle?
Just, like,
Yeah,
Oh,
competitiveness.
come on.
and I was in a room, and it was with these rich kids and their girlfriends, and my cousin and me, and me and my cousin were having a good time, and so were the girls. We were trying to solve this, and the rich kids were like, "We're too cool for this." And then when one of them looked at me, and was like, "Hey, listen, you're not getting any if you don't play along." Then they started getting involved, but it was too little, too late because I died.
Damn.
All right, we got a super chat there.
Yeah.
Mary, and then let's.
You guys want to do an escape room one day?
I mean, if you want to, I'll humor it. Sure.
All right.
I'm not going to be so joyless that I can't geocache or do an escape room.
There we go. Brett?
No. Sorry. Power of no. Remember,
Wow.
the power of saying
It doesn't count with
The power of no is for people who don't like saying no. You love it.
You love it. It's not power.
Hannah?
The power of saying yes. I'll
No,
do one with you.
Find the power of saying yes once in a while.
I
Brett.
used to be far too agreeable. If anything, I've mastered
But now
the
you've
power.
But not the
overcorrected.
whole time that I've known Brett.
You have overcorrected. It's time to find the power of saying yes.
You should have been there the day that Hannah Claire's like, you want to come hiking with us? I'm like, nope. I was like this emphatically no, I do not. And so, all right, there's a super chat there, Mary.
Wayward Soul said recently rewatched Kick-Ass 1 and 2. Still great.
I do not remember Kick-Ass 2. Kick-Ass 1 is a freaking classic. Everyone should be watching.
Now that we're
saw the
talking about
first
Chloe Grace Moretz,
Yes.
I think it's a must watch.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is.
It's really dark.
When we were watching the Peripheral, all I could think about whenever she's like wearing shorts and like, look how long her legs are.
I was like watching a little too closely for how her proportions looked
Yeah.
on her body, but they might have like specially done her wardrobe so that it wouldn't make her torso look short.
Make the shorts longer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy.
All right.
I feel bad now.
We love you, Chloe Grace Moretz. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Dane. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
Why did I say thank you?
Uh,
That was
Like,
weird.
thank
Sorry
you for
about
the honor.
you mean you're welcome?
You're welcome. No, that's
Yeah.
douchey.
No, you say you're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. See, thank you for coming.
Okay. Sorry, I just frazzled for a second. Anyway, I think
Just tell us. Okay, Dane Fawn on Twitter. Thank
That
you.
was his own version of the Katy Perry eye droop thing from
Yeah.
yesterday. His brain just kind of gave up for a second there. At Dane Fawn on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope you're okay.
Hannah Claire, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and you can find me on timcast.com. Click on the read tabs. I and our other writers write there regularly, every day even. I don't know what I'm saying. You should also follow Timcast News on Twitter because it's great and it's a good way to keep updated with stuff we're working on and just general geopolitical world events, you know?
And don't just read her articles, read Chris Burtman's too.
I don't want to start a beef that I
Maybe
actually
not,
have
quite
seen.
as often.
I'm cool if you read any of the articles from any of the writers on our site. They work really hard and they deserve your support. So read mine, read Chris's. Sorry that Chris is starting an aggressive battle with me. I go away for 1 week. I don't know.
That's all it takes.
It's crazy.
Mary.
Thank you guys.
You can find me on Instagram if you want to see pictures of me online. It's at Mary Archived. And if you want to hear my inane thoughts online, you can follow me on Twitter also at Mary Archived.
Should we shill for the Daily Wire?
Yes, we should. There is a referral link in our description box below where you can get 35% off of a Daily Wire Plus membership or $12 off of a Jeremy's Razors Founders Kit. And if you use that link, it helps us earn points in this competition for $250K in cash.
Perfect.
When does competition end?
November 1st.
Yes.
We're
And
actually-
I'm actually quite impressed with the amount of points we've racked up.
Are we seeing a leaderboard? How are we measuring up?
I don't think there is a public leaderboard, no.
And we're at a bit of a disadvantage because, guys, we're going to be off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next
Yeah.
week. So we won't be able to shill on those days. So just giving notice ahead of time. We cannot shill for that. Dane finds that extremely funny.
I love that you're literally saying shill. I
shill.
love it.
Yeah, shill.
There's
or
no shame in chilling.
Some podcasts would say this is how you pay the bills.
Maybe I should feel shame in chilling, but I don't.
There we go.
Guys, hit the like button, please. I need to be saying that more. Hit the like button, leave comments,
Smash
subscribe
that like
to the
button.
it's gently
Crisis
tap.
Citizens,
Gently-
Crisis Nation, subscribe, click that bell notification.
See, enough people have made fun of those things now that I feel self-conscious saying it, but gently tap the like button, please. Gently.
Gently ring the bell.
Yes.
Quietly.
Leave comments, all that good stuff. It helps us in the algorithm, I'm told. So for the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific. If you'd rather listen rather than watch, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. We are also on social media, Twitter, at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok, at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram, at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. If you'd like to follow me on there, it's at Brett Dasovic on Instagram. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Later.
Bye.
Oh, there's one more.
Oh.
I didn't. One more.
Potatoes for Seamus said, don't leave us. No. Well, we have to leave. Sorry.
Sorry, buddy.
Bye.
I should have just not read it. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then. Later, guys.